Chapter 53. After Yuhao and the rest returned from the Star Do Forest, Zhonglidi and Zhongliren were released by Qiu'er so that they could inform the Holy Ghost religion so that they could be prepared. On the way back to Shrek, they ran into the Three Lives Wolfate. Wang Qiu'er wanted to let them go, but they were courting death as they charged at her. After that, they became Three Soul Bones. After that, they returned to Shrek unscathed. They all went to cultivate. Elder Xian also found Bei Bei, Yuhao and the rest. He told them that the rules for this year's tournament had changed slightly. Now, the sect was allowed to participate. The 7 monsters had to represent the Tangmen in the tournament. As for Shrek's team, Wang Qiu'er said that she could seal her soul power and replace the captain. Elder Xian knew how scary Qiu'er was. He also knew that she was only participating because she wanted to follow Yuhao. However, he couldn't stop her, so he let her participate. She was the captain, and the vice-captain was Dai Huabin. The team members were those people. When Yuhao arrived at the Tangmen, he actually met some familiar faces. They were Xian Ziwen, Ji Juechen, and Jing Zian. They were actually here too. Ji Juechen and Jing Zian fought with Yuhao again. Ji Juechen and Jing Zian had improved greatly. They already had 7 rings, and Ji Juechen's Dao God sword had reached perfection. However, Yuhao didn't stay stagnant. He had already opened the 4th gate of the 8 inner hidden gate. Furthermore, he had already opened 8 of the 9 potentials of the 4th gate. He was only 1 step away from opening all of them. Right now, he could probably destroy a small mountain with a single punch. In less than a minute, Yuhao defeated Ji Juechen and Jing Zian. After that, Xian Ziwen and Yuhao founded the Soul Tool Hall together. The 2 of them were also planning how to produce and promote the 2 epic-making items. Perhaps they could promote the battle armor, but the second one was really. The remaining time was to arrange for De Mao and Air Mao's accommodations. They were very close to Yuhao, weren't they? Their parents were dead, and Yuhao was their only family member. They could be said to be their childhood playmates. Yuhao was their big brother, and they were his loyal little brothers. The 3 of them used to be feared by all beasts in the Star Forest in the evening, in Yuhao's room. Yuhao looked at the slip of paper in his hand. It was from the pouch that Niu Tian had given him. It's written, "Yuhao, perhaps it's more appropriate to call you my benefactor. Benefactor, you should know that Shao Qi awakened her martial soul when she was 3 years old. Furthermore, she awakened 3 martial souls at once. Her 3rd martial soul, Tang San, only saw a blurry axe-shaped object. It seemed to be a tool soul, but that tool soul remained sealed after it was awakened. Furthermore, Shao Qi gave birth to another spirit. At least, this spirit didn't seem to be doing anything. However, Shao Qi's memory seal would appear once every year. Although it only appeared once, it was very painful for Shao Qi. The memory seal would be stopped by an invisible force every time. Perhaps it was the doing of that other spirit. Although Little 7 managed to survive each time, she was still left with very serious internal injuries. Little 7, she wouldn't live past 18 years old. I believe you know what can save Shao Qi, and that is the yearning heartbroken grass. Yuhao opened his mouth. It wasn't written on the note, but he knew what could save Wudong. The yearning heartbroken grass. Can I really pluck the yearning heartbroken grass again? Yuhao asked himself. Indeed, he might have been able to do it in the past. However, he couldn't be faithful when it came to love right now. Yuhao heaved a sigh and pulled himself together. We'll only know if we can try. Let's go there first. However, he saw at the moment he stepped out, "Hubby, why are you in such a hurry? Don't tell me." Qiu'er looked at the anxious Yuhao. She calculated the time and realized that it was about time to go to the Icefire Yin-Yang well. "That's where we're going. Qiu'er, you should come too," Yuhao said as he took out the garment of ice. The garment of ice was the robe that he was wearing. It was a special soul bone that the Snow Lady had given him. It could conceal his aura and temperature. Nothing could detect him. Hubby, do you really think you can pluck the yearning heartbroken grass now? Wang Qiu asked Yuhao. We won't know until we try. If I can't, I'll find something better than the yearning heartbroken grass. Yuhao put on the ice raiment and walked out the door. Is there really something better than the yearning heartbroken grass in this world? Wang Qiu muttered. As she spoke, she followed Yuhao and quietly left Shrek. They headed towards the ice fire Yang well. The next day, Shrek, Yuhao? I don't see him. What's wrong, Donger? Has Yuhao disappeared? Bei was confused as he looked at the anxious Tang Donger. Yes. Last night, I went to find Yuhao, but I found his room empty. I thought it was just a small matter, so I didn't take it to heart. However, it's already the next day, and he still hasn't returned. He usually tells me before he does anything, but it's already the next day, and he still hasn't returned. I went to Sister Qiu Er's room, but I found that she wasn't there either. Could it be that she suddenly had something to do, so she took Yuhao away? Bei asked. Yes, it could also be an elopement. Didn't Yuhao say that? Wang Qiu isn't even his biological sister. Furthermore, I think that the way Wang Qiu looks at Yuhao isn't like how a normal sibling would look at a younger brother. Sometimes they even look like lovers. This. Tang Donger was stunned. Actually, she had also noticed this. But what could she do? Tell Yuhao to stay away from her? Don't joke around. She's his sister. Even though she's not his biological sister, she's taken care of Yuhao for a long time since he was young. How could I say something like that? Furthermore, I don't know why, but I really do treat her like my own sister. The 6 freaks went to the outer courtyard to look for clues. Finally, Zhou Siken said that he saw 2 people leave Shrek Academy today. One of them looked like Yuhao from the back, and was wearing a blue robe. The other person had a girlfriend, Tang Dong but her hair was a brilliant gold. It was obvious that they were Yuhao and Qiu. However, he said that the 2 of them were extremely anxious, as if they had encountered something very urgent. Dong don't worry. With Senior Qiu accompanying Yuhao, he'll definitely be fine. Maybe they just met with a small matter. But I'm really worried about him. Setting sun forest, 2 figures suddenly appeared in the air. One was icy blue, the other golden. It was a man and a woman. They were Yuhao and Wang Qiu. I haven't been back for a long time. He really missed this place a little. After this, I'll take Star Anise with me, Yuhao said. You don't know, but Star Anise is the only immortal beast that can move freely in the ice fire Yang well. The only immortal beast that can transform into a human, Wang Qiu said. Let's go. After saying that, the 2 of them completely ignored the terrifying 7-colored miasma and directly swaggered into it. The miasma actually miraculously opened up a path for them to pass through, as if it was very afraid of them. Wang Qiu looked at the plants around them. These plants were all jade green in color. These jade green plants extended to both sides. They weren't very tall, only about half a meter in height. Every jade green plant had 9 strangely shaped leaves. These leaves were a little like human hands, but they had 7 fingers. Some of the larger ones even had 9 fingers. And at the top of their heads, there were many large, jade green flowers blooming. The jade green mist was also released from the stamens of these flowers. It slowly spread outwards before fusing into the 7-colored miasma. I really don't know why. Why did you and Tang San plant so many jade phosphorus flowers of the 7 absolutes here 10,000 years ago? They don't seem to have any other use apart from preventing the ice fire Yang well from being discovered. Who knows? Maybe I just did it on a whim. Yuhao chuckled. At this moment, 3 people appeared beside him. One of them was a 17-year-old golden-haired youth dressed in white robes, the other was a 15-year-old beautiful girl with jade-green twin ponytails, and the last was a 16-year-old girl with snow-white hair. Seriously, I haven't come out for some fresh air in a long time. The golden-haired youth stretched his back. You stupid bug, all you know is to sleep. If not for the star anise today, you wouldn't have woken up at all. The girl with jade-green twin ponytails looked at the golden-haired youth angrily. My Bing, Yuhao doesn't need our help at all. There's no one in the continent of Doloa who can hurt him. Alright, we're almost there. Stop arguing. The girl with snow-white hair at the side said. Yuhao laughed a little embarrassedly. It's all my fault. I actually forgot about everyone recently. It's fine. You don't need our help at all now. We understand that you want to live a different life from before, the golden-haired youth said. The two girls nodded. Brother Sky Dream, Ice Empress, Snow Empress. Yuhao looked at the three of them. Seriously, my family doesn't even let me out for some fresh air. I'm really different now. I've become more independent. I don't need to rely on Brother Skydream and the rest anymore. Thinking back, I used to rely on Brother Skydream, the Ice Empress, and the Snow Empress. Brother Skydream and the rest frowned slightly. Then they laughed. I didn't expect this. Star Anise actually. Icefire Een Yang Well, a handsome and youthful 12-year-old white-haired youth, suddenly opened his eyes. He had a pair of icy blue eyes and was dressed in clean white clothes. He looked clean and tidy. Behind his back, there were 9 halos. He slowly stood up. Oh my God! Star Anise! You actually… A huge flower suddenly opened its mouth. Unbelievable! He actually became a divine-grade herb. A supreme divine-grade herb. A fiery red plant exclaimed in shock. I can't believe it! A bunch of immortal herbs opened their mouths. Instantly there was a commotion. Star Anise made a shushing gesture. Instantly everyone fell silent. He closed his eyes and sensed for a moment. Then, he slowly opened his eyes and smiled. They're here. Since they're here, Yuhao should be here too. 10,000 years. I've been here for 10,000 years. You're finally here. I'm so tired. The sky was completely covered by rainbow clouds. As a result, the valley seemed to be illuminated by a rainbow. It was dazzling and moving. Deep blue vines crawled all over the mountain walls in the distance. The entire mountain walls seemed to be made of sapphires that flickered with a faint rainbow light. The area in the valley wasn't too big, but there were all kinds of plants growing there. There were countless colors as far as the eye could see. All kinds of beautiful flowers competed with each other in terms of beauty. All kinds of plants were filled with fruit. Many of the plants were even emitting treasured lights of varying strength. Just by looking at them, one could tell that they were extraordinary. The most shocking thing was that there was a lake in the middle of all these plants. This lake was clearly divided into 2 parts. One side was icy blue. The other side was fiery red. Red and blue. It was as if 2 huge pieces of jade were inlaid there. The rich aura of life in the air came from them, filling the entire space in the valley. Beside the lake stood a handsome white-haired youth. He had been standing there with his eyes closed. Suddenly, 5 figures appeared in the air. They slowly landed in front of the white-haired youth. At this moment, the white-haired youth slowly opened his eyes. He smiled and greeted them. Yo! Long time no see, everyone. And he paused and looked at the 16-year-old blue-haired youth in the middle. Yuhao. Star Anise, you're good. You're already at the 9th ring? I thought you'd stay at the 8th ring for a long time. A golden-haired youth among the 5 said. You're already at the 9th ring. How could I fall behind? Furthermore, the spiritual energy here is many times more than outside. It's hard for me not to reach the 9th ring. I've also grasped a lot of the power of the universe. The white-haired youth smiled. This white-haired youth and the 5 people who had suddenly appeared were Star Anise, Yuhao, Wang Qiu'er Skydream, the Ice Empress, and the Snow Empress. It's been hard on you, Star Anise. It's been hard on you for 10,000 years. Yuhao said apologetically. It's fine. It's only 10,000 years. Haven't I endured it? Star anise replied. Star anise they are. At this moment, a huge flower beside star anise suddenly opened its mouth. Huiyuhao looked at this huge flower. It was a pale pink flower. It had no leaves, and its stem was almost 10 feet long. The flower was extremely large, with a diameter of more than 3 feet. Every petal was as clear as crystal. The pale pink flower swayed gently with the mist. It grew on the shore where the red and blue springs intersected. Huiyuhao's lips curled. He said to the flower, "Long time no see. Delicate silk flower. No, I'll call you by your nickname, Yu." That huge flower suddenly trembled. "You? Who are you?" "Only that person from 10,000 years ago and his younger brother know this name." "Who are you?" Huiyuhao smiled gently. He slowly walked in front of it and said, "Guess. If you guess correctly, I'll tell you." "How will you tell me if I guess correctly?" Yu thought to herself. She carefully sized up Huiyuhao. "This aura. Your Tang Yu?" Her voice was filled with shock. Even the immortal grade creatures around them started to tremble. They were filled with shock and excitement. "Correct. But there's no prize." Huiyuhao smiled. "Tang Yu, why are you like this?" A fiery red plant that looked like a cabbage suddenly opened its mouth. "Little lie, there are some things that are better left unknown." Star anise glanced at it. It shut its mouth. "It's rare for me to come back. Don't you welcome me?" Huiyuhao asked. "How could that be? You're much better than that bastard brother of yours. 10,000 years ago, he ransacked this place. Only you managed to tidy it up. Speaking of which, your brother is really too much. He left for so long and didn't even come back to visit us. We're so depressed." Yu said. "If third brother heard this, he might just pluck you and cook you into soup." Huiyuhao said calmly. Yu immediately shut up. She knew that with that person's strength, he could definitely hear what she said. Huiyuhao looked up at the sky. In reality, he had indeed heard it. He thought to himself, "Divine Realm, Xiao Wu, do you want to drink the delicate silk immortal grade soup tonight?" "No. Third brother, you should drink it yourself. I'm going to Brother Rong's house for dinner." "Hey! Xiao Wu, don't go. There's still a lot of immortal grade soup tonight. What's going on? Am I really not suitable to cook soup?" Back in the Dolua continent, at the ice fire Yin Yang well, Huiyuhao looked up at the sky, and his mouth twitched. "Third brother, even a cockroach would immediately fall over after drinking your soup. Forget it, let's get down to business first." Huiyuhao looked at the star anise and said, "Star anise, is the yearning heartbroken grass still here?" The star anise was stunned and looked at him strangely. "Yuhao, are you sure you can pluck it now?" Huiyuhao trembled, but continued to say, "How would I know if I don't try?" Everyone fell silent. "What are you doing? Do you have no confidence in me?" Huiyuhao said with his hands on his hips. "Yuhao, I don't want to nag you, but are you sure you're still the same person?" Skydream looked at him seriously. Huiyuhao didn't say anything. "You were able to pluck the yearning heartbroken grass in the past, but are you still the same person now? You're not the same person now. You haven't been brainwashed by Tang-san. You're the same person now. Can you really be faithful?" Skydream asked. Huiyuhao remained silent. I have something to say," Yu suddenly said. "Shut up. Don't interrupt when we're talking," the Ice Empress said coldly. Yu suddenly shut up. "Alright, Ice Empress, don't be so agitated." Skydream patted the Ice Empress. The Ice Empress ignored Yu. Huiyuhao looked at her and said, Yu, what did you want to say?" "Nothing much. Tang Yu, don't tell me you're looking for something similar to the yearning heartbroken grass?" Huiyuhao and the rest were shocked. "Do you know?" Yu said to the star anise. "Star anise, do you still remember that?" The star anise was stunned. Suddenly, he trembled. "You mean, yes. It's that seed that landed here 1,000 years ago." "Seed?" Yuhao, Wang Qier, Skydream, and the rest were confused. Octagon Anise looked at them. 1,000 years ago, a seed fell here. This seed was born with a huge amount of heaven and earth energy, and it grew very quickly. In less than a year, it sprouted, and in the second year, it bloomed into a twin flower bud. However, after that twin flower bud for nearly 1,000 years, it still showed no signs of blooming. Furthermore, it had an indescribable aura. If I had to describe it, this aura was similar to the aura in your spiritual world, Yuhao. Yuhao was shocked. His spiritual world had been modified by the first god of emotions. He had fused his dreamscape with his spiritual sea to create an inner world. He had opened up a world in his own body. As for the dreamscape, the first god had said that it was the place where he had cultivated. In other words, it was the cultivation world. If that was the case, then that thing had the aura of the spiritual world. In other words, that seed was very likely something from the cultivation world. Where's that flower bud? Yuhao asked. That is protected by 2 dragon souls. Yu said. Dragon souls. They were shocked again. They're the souls of the Frost Dragon King and the Inferno Dragon King. However, they're not from the first generation. They're from Han Tian's clan. They seem to be from the 3rd generation. These 2 fellows seem to have fought here before. Their goal was to snatch the Icefire Yin-Yang well. In the end, both sides died. However, their dragon souls and bloodlines nourish the Icefire Yin-Yang well. Their dragon souls will forever remain in this place to protect this place. Their former strength should be around the level of a 2nd-level divine beast. Now, only their divine souls are left. Their strength can only be displayed at the level of a divine official. The seed that landed here 1,000 years ago had an extremely large amount of heaven and earth energy. Staying by their side was also beneficial to them. Thus, it could be said that they treated that flower bud like a treasure. That flower bud should have a very mystical ability. Furthermore, I'm sure that it's definitely not as simple as a simple immortal rank. Octagon Anise said. Yuhao and the others were also slightly shocked. Of course, it was only a slight shock. They didn't expect that there would be people from Han Tian's clan, since there are people from the dragons then. Yuhao and Wang Qier said in unison. The 2 of them released their martial souls at the same time. Yuhao released the Frost Dragon King. Icy blue dragon scales covered his entire body. A pair of icy blue dragon wings sprouted from his back. His hands became icy blue dragon claws, and a pair of dragon horns grew from his head. Wang Qier was covered in gold and silver dragon scales. A pair of gold and silver dragon wings, dragon horns, and dragon claws were also covered in gold and silver dragon scales. In the center of her forehead there was a 3rd eye. This eye was golden in color, and there were gold and silver patterns around it. Roar! 2 dragon roars resounded through the sky. Instantly, 2 enormous illusory figures emerged from the 2 pools of ice and fire. One was an icy blue dragon, while the other was a fiery red dragon. The 2 dragons suddenly descended to the ground and prostrated themselves on the ground. They trembled and didn't dare to make a sound. What obedient children! Wang Qier walked over to touch them, although she couldn't touch them at all. Can you 2 give me that flower bud? Yuhao looked at them and asked. The 2 dragon kings stared blankly. They didn't know what to do. What if I can condense a physical body for you 2? Yuhao asked. The 2 dragon kings trembled as they looked at him in astonishment. I don't lie. I will do what I say, Yuhao said indifferently. The 2 dragon kings were silent for a while before nodding their heads. The Frost Dragon King's dragon soul rushed into the ice and fire lake. Not long after, it came out. There was an ice cube in its mouth. Inside the ice cube, there seemed to be 2 flower buds of the same stem. Both of them were spotlessly white and flawless. They were close to each other. Although they were frozen, Yuhao could still feel the familiar aura on their body. It couldn't be wrong. It really was the aura of the cultivation world. Why did this flower bud look so familiar? He kept feeling that the first generation seemed to have told him about this flower bud before. However, he couldn't recall it at the moment. Yuhao took the frozen twin flower bud and looked at the two dragon kings. Thank you. I will now condense a physical body for you too. Yuhao looked at the flower bud in his hand. There seemed to be a seed inside the flower bud. At this point, it was getting more and more boring. There was no need to write about condensing a physical body. Everyone only needed to know that they had come back to life and were guarding there. Outside the icefire Yin-Yang well, Yuhao held the twin flower bud that he had already defrosted and smelled its floral fragrance. He felt that there was no other fragrance that could compare to it. Yuhao, can this flower bud really save her? Wang Qiu was a little doubtful. Because until now they didn't know how to use it. Yuhao kept looking at the flower bud as if he was stunned. He thought of something. Yuhao? Wang Qiu looked at him in a daze. I remember now. Yuhao shouted. Wang Qiu was so frightened that she almost threw a punch. What are you doing? Can't you give me a heads up next time? Wang Qiu looked at Yuhao unhappily. Sorry. I really remember now. Qiu, this thing is really useful. And it's so much better than the yearning heartbroken grass. I really didn't expect it. I actually encountered such a rare spiritual item. I'm so lucky. What exactly is it? This item is called the World's Edge Passion Flower, but it's a connate spirit item. It's one of the first 10 connate spirit items to be born. In terms of rarity, only the Heavenly Tao Bamboo, Genesis Lotus, Heavenly Book, Yin-Yang Jade, and a few other connate spirit items can compare to it. The World's Edge Passion Flower is the same as the Yearning Heartbroken Grass in that it also tests one's feelings. However, the difference is that the Yearning Heartbroken Grass requires a single person to spit out a mouthful of blood to move it. However, the World's Edge Passion Flower isn't like that. It requires true feelings to move it, and it doesn't need to be that devoted. As long as both the man and woman transmit their feelings into the flower bud, once the two buds bloom, something magical will happen. As for what it is, I don't know. After it's used, it will once again become a seed and choose another place to reside. No one knows what it does, because no one has ever seen it before. Even in the entire universe, there is only one of it. It's that amazing. It's that rare? Wang Qiu was very shocked. Chapter 54. Unlike the Yearning Heartbroken Grass, the World's Edge Passion Flower doesn't test whether you're faithful or not, but it does test whether you're sincere to the person you love. Of course, it doesn't matter how many people you love. This is one of the reasons why the World's Edge Fragrant Love Flower is better than the Yearning Heartbroken Grass. In fact, it's even better than the Yearning Heartbroken Grass. However, I don't know what it's used for. It's said that the first generation used it before, but he didn't tell me. The first generation once said, if the Yearning Heartbroken Grass is a divine item among immortal items, then the World's Edge Fragrant Love Flower is a divine item among divine items. Yuhao looked at the twin flower bud in his hand. It seems very powerful. Why don't we try it now? Wang Qiu pointed at herself. Forget it. I don't know much about this thing. Let's take it back first. It's best not to use it carelessly before we understand it. Oh. Wang Qiu was clearly a little disappointed. However, it's great that you're not in any danger. Do you know how much my heart ached when you crippled yourself to pick the Yearning Heartbroken Grass? Wang Qiu suddenly changed the topic. Now that I think about it, I really was crazy back then. Yuhao hugged her and laughed. Wasn't it all because you were brainwashed by that Tang San? You were originally a person with great fortune, but you fell into Tang San's trap. Otherwise, you would have been able to create your own era. Qiu said angrily. It was obvious that she still didn't like Tang San. After all, he had done something that made her very angry. He had hurt her lover, brainwashed her lover, and toyed with her lover's life. If it wasn't for the fact that Yuhao didn't care about these things, she would have rushed to the God realm and fought Tang San. Yuhao could only silently pray for Tang San. Shrek Academy. Yuhao and Wang Qiu'er were finally back, and Tang Donger could finally relax. Everyone went up to them and asked where they had gone. Qiu'er said that she had gone to look for Little Hao's second martial soul's soul ring. Yuhao also released his second martial soul's soul ring. It was red, orange, 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 red. 7 rings. Everyone was shocked once again, and at the same time, they believed what they said in Tang Dong-er's room. Tell me, why did you call me here? Wang Qiu'er asked Tang Dong. Sister Qiu'er, what did you and Yuhao do? I have a feeling that Yuhao isn't just going to look for soul rings, Tang Donger said. Wang Qiu'er was silent for a while and then said, he went to look for something for you. Didn't you realize that you have a hidden illness? Do 10 white chains appear on your body every year on your birthday? That tearing pain almost makes your body collapse every time, and then it's suppressed by a mysterious force. Tang Dong-er trembled and took a step back. She looked at Wang Qiu'er in disbelief. Don't be so surprised. Yuhao is the same. It's just that his chains are black, and he's already unlocked 5 of them, Wang Qiu'er said plainly. What? Tang Dong-er was shocked. He went to look for a divine item that might be helpful to you. It might even help you unlock some of your chains. But he doesn't know what the side effects are, so he doesn't dare to try it. If you really love him, then you'd better be prepared. Wang Qiu'er finished speaking and was about to leave the room. Wait, Sister Qiu'er. Tang Dong-er suddenly called out to her. Wang Qiu'er walked over and asked, What's the matter? What's your relationship with Yuhao? Wang Qiu'er was silent. After a while, she slowly opened her mouth and said, Right now, we're siblings. However, you'll know our true relationship when you unlock the first 4 chains. She left after she finished speaking. The first 4 chains? Tang Dong-er muttered to herself. Then, she looked at the black jade mark on the back of her right hand. Today was the day that everyone went to Radiant City to participate in the competition. Yuhao and the rest went under the banner of the Tangmen. Oh, they also brought along Nana, Ji Juechen, and Jing Xian. As for Shrek's team, Wang Qiu'er led Shrek's team. Wang Qiu'er suppressed her abilities to that of a 7-ringed soul master. Of course, she could destroy 13 Doloa if she unleashed her full power. Radiant City, the back garden of the Sun Moon Empire's imperial palace. A wheelchair slowly moved along the wide limestone path in the back garden. Plants of all shapes and sizes were neatly scattered all over the garden. There was a small waterfall in the fake mountains, a flowery imperial emblem, and tall trees. The back garden of the Sun Moon Empire's imperial palace felt like they had entered a beautiful forest. How's father doing? Su Tianran closed his eyes as he sat in the wheelchair. He seemed very relaxed. Ju Zi was the one pushing his wheelchair. Ju Zi was wearing a yellow dress that accentuated her fair skin. She looked noble and elegant. Compared to before, she now had a calmer temperament. Her beautiful eyes flashed with a soul-stirring light of wisdom. I'm afraid His Majesty's body can't take it anymore. The imperial physician said that His Majesty has been unconscious for the past few days. Ju Zi said softly. Father has always been cautious and conscientious. He doesn't want to achieve anything, but he doesn't want to make any mistakes. He's missed so many great opportunities. In the future, he can only be a mediocre emperor. What's the military's reaction? Ju Zi said, The military is very calm. Ever since we took control of the Radiant City Garrison District, the military's objections disappeared. At least 2/5 of the Empire's army is under our control. Of the other 3/5, 2/5 are still watching from the sidelines or are only loyal to the Emperor. Once you ascend to the throne, I believe they will immediately come over. As for the last 1/5, most of them are generals with real power at the borders. Some of them have been bribed by other princes, while some of them are your old enemies. Su Tianran smiled. When Zhu Zi saw this smile, she felt as if her heart had been plunged into an ice cellar. This was because she knew that every time Su Tianran revealed such an expression, it meant that he had decided to go on a killing spree. There's no hurry. Wait until I ascend to the throne. If they insist on being stubborn to the end, you can make a trip there. Su Tianran smiled as he said. Zhu Zi's body trembled slightly, but she still nodded and said, yes. Su Tianran turned around and looked at her. He said, Zhu Zi, there's no need to be so formal between us. Wait until I ascend to the throne. The first thing I'll do is to make you my empress, mother of the world. If you're always so formal, you'll lack the grace of an empress. Zhu Zi smiled faintly and said, Your Highness, you know. Zhu Zi doesn't ask for any status by following you. Zhu Zi only has 2 wishes. One is to always be by your side. The other is to destroy the Xianra Empire. Su Tianran nodded slightly and said, Your 2 wishes will come true. Your performance in the military exceeded my expectations. Even those stubborn old generals admire you. Based on this trend, when we declare war on the Xianra Empire in the future, you will be my marshal. Thank you, Your Highness. Zhu Zi hurriedly knelt beside Su Tianran's wheelchair. Su Tianran lifted his hand to support her and said, I've already said that there's no need to be so formal between us. If you hadn't saved my life back then, I wouldn't be alive anymore. Among my subordinates, there are many who are stronger than you. However, you're the only one who truly makes me feel at ease. Zhu Zi's beautiful eyes were filled with gratitude. However, Su Tianran didn't realize that there was a trace of coldness and disdain in the depths of her eyes. Can I really do whatever I want in front of you? In the past, there was an official who did you a favor, but he acted more naturally in front of you. Not long after, he died at home. I was the one who gave you the order. Zhu Zi knew Su Tianran's personality too well. This crown prince was indeed a man of great talent and strategy. He only had one goal in life, and that was to unify the entire Dolua continent. Furthermore, he was intelligent, flexible, and ruthless. Although he was handicapped, he had all the prerequisites for success. He wasn't just an ambitious person. Zhu Zi even thought that he was a madman, an extremely intelligent madman. In Zhu Zi's eyes, the only person who could compare to him was the other madman hidden in her heart. Zhu Zi looked at the sky. The tournament is about to begin. Will he come? I really miss him. Of course, she could only think about it in her heart. She couldn't express it. Otherwise, Su Tianran would discover it. The Tangmen landed about 100 kilometers away from Radiant City. They would enter Radiant City if they continued forward. Of course, Yuhao was responsible for starting the fire and cooking. Yes, it had to be said that Yuhao's standards had improved once again. He had actually attracted a group of people from a sect with proper etiquette and a group of people from a disorderly sect. They were from that so-called sect and were led by Fatso. In any case, they were mesmerized by Yuhao and Tang Dong-er's beauty, and wanted to strike up a conversation with them. However, Ji Juechen stood in front of Yuhao and said, "Scram." After that, they started fighting. 2 yellow, 2 purple, 2 black, and 1 red soul ring appeared. 7 soul rings appeared, and a Dao Divine sword appeared in his hand. Those people were so frightened that they didn't dare to move. What a joke, that was a soul sage. Furthermore, he was such a young soul sage. He could destroy half of his sect on his own. Anyway, he was chased away just like that. No one cared about this small interlude. Only Yuhao praised Ji Juechen. Man and sword are at the pinnacle of one. You're just one step away from achieving all things are swords. Brother Ji, you're really a genius. It's a pity that I'm only close to achieving it. Unlike you, you've already achieved it. Ji Juechen said. Yuhao smiled and didn't say anything. When they reached Radiant City, Nana, who was born and raised in the Sun Moon Empire, led everyone to a hotel to register. After they registered, they prepared to leave. However, Yuhao looked in a certain direction. Everyone looked in that direction too. They saw a group of people walking towards them. Everyone recognized the person at the front. She was the princess of the Xianra Empire, Su Jiujiu, who had caused them a lot of trouble in the previous tournament. However, no one recognized the person behind her. After all, the participants in the last competition were all students who had reached the optimal age of 20 years old. This time, there would definitely be a change of people. Princess Su Jiujiu's personal arrival was very surprising. However, those youngsters were all very reserved. It was obvious that they were all very strong. Those who had been selected by the Xingluo National Academy were naturally the cream of the crop. They were one of the top 4 teams in the previous tournament. Right now, Her Highness Jiujiu's eyes were filled with astonishment. There was only one person reflected in her eyes, and that was Yuhao, who was standing side by side with Bei Bei and Su Sanshi. Yes, this princess had walked over because she saw Yuhao. She had never thought that one day, she would see this miraculous young man who had left a deep impression on her. Yuhao. Su Jiujiu walked in front of everyone. The Tang men stood up and greeted her politely. Of course, Yuhao was an exception. Yuhao smiled at Su Jiujiu and said, "Your Highness, it's been a long time." Su Jiujiu was stunned. She smiled back and said, "Yes, it's been 5 years." She didn't care that Yuhao didn't greet her. In fact, she didn't have the right to accept his greeting. She had found out about Yuhao's status in the Shrek Academy through some channels. It was very important. His status could even be said to have surpassed hers. This youth was indeed the creator of miracles. Su Jiujiu couldn't hide the admiration in her eyes. The young men behind her were extremely shocked. They had never seen the princess speak to someone in such a manner. In their impression, Su Jiujiu was a cold and aloof princess. How could she speak to a stranger like that? From her tone, it seemed like they were old friends. "We are representing the Tang men in this competition. The team from the academy is led by my sister. She is very strong. Be careful not to touch her. If you touch her, admit defeat immediately." Yuhao said. "You have a sister? Is she very strong?" Su Jiujiu was shocked. If her brother was so strong, how strong was her sister? "Very strong." Yuhao smiled. Su Jiujiu thought for a moment. She took out a token and said, "The Tang men have a long history. The first Tang men leader made great contributions to the world of soul masters on the continent. If the Tang men need the help of the Xianra Empire in the future, we will help you at all costs. If the Tang men need the help of the Xianra Empire in the future, you can bring this token to Xingluo City to find me. I will do my best to help." The token was heavy. It had the Xianra Empire's royal family carved on it. On the back, there was a picture of a tiger's head. This meant that the royal family hadn't forgotten the White Tiger dynasty. Bei Bei took the token and said seriously, "Thank you for your gift, Princess. The Tang men will always remember the friendship of the Xianra Empire. I think that we will be able to work together in the near future." Su Jiujiu laughed and said, "That will definitely come." After that, she glanced at Yuhao and said, "If we meet on the stage, please show mercy." With that, she left with the young man behind her. She has grown, but... Yuhao smiled. Her negotiation skills are still not enough. In the measurement room, there were many people lining up, but the Tang men had the least number of people. The Tang men only had Nana as their reserve team. When it was almost the Tongmen's turn, Yuhao seemed to sense something. He subconsciously looked in one direction. When his gaze landed on someone, he couldn't look away. "Teacher Xiao Ye!" Yuhao shouted. His shout attracted the attention of everyone in the measurement room. When he heard Hu Yuhao's shout, Bei Bei's body trembled violently. Then, he followed Hu Yuhao's gaze and looked in that direction. There was a young girl standing in the corner of the measurement room. Wasn't she Tangya? Her slender figure was still as beautiful as ever. She seemed to have grown a little taller than a few years ago, but her beautiful face had an unhealthy paleness to it. Her pair of lively big eyes seemed to have changed color, and there was a hint of dark blue in her beautiful pupils. She stood there as if she had blended into the shadows. When Bei Bei saw her, his body stiffened. After that, he started to tremble violently. He even grabbed onto Hu Yuhao and Su Sanchi's shoulders to stabilize himself. Xiao Ye. Only those who were most familiar with him knew how difficult it was for Bei Bei to find Xiao Ye all these years. They didn't expect to see her again in the measurement room of the Continental Elite Youth Soul Master Tournament. After that, everyone found out that their eldest senior sister was Bei Bei's child bride. The 6 of them were so shocked that they couldn't close their mouth. What was going on? Child bride? This age gap couldn't be made up for. However, Hu Yuhao didn't feel this way. As someone who was older than the entire universe combined, he had seen too many things. For example, in the cultivation world, couples could be paired even if they were a few hundred years apart. How could Bei Bei and Zhang Lishuan, who were less than 20 years apart, count for anything? After that, Su Jiuzhou and Wei Na came to find Hu Yuhao to discuss the price of the Zhuge Divine crossbow cannon. After that, a titled Doloa and a super Doloa almost got into a fight. If not for Hu Yuhao subduing them, they would have torn this place apart. The next day, the Tang men were about to start the competition. However, they reported their names at the registration area and took out the procedures for the competition. The Tang men were led to the bench area. Furthermore, they were in a very secluded corner. Faced with such treatment, even the Tang men, who didn't care about such things, didn't look too good. Xiao and Jiang Nanan's pretty faces were filled with indignation. "This is too much," Xiao said angrily. Kaitu patted her shoulder comfortingly, but didn't say anything. Hu Yuhao smiled and said, "It's all right. We'll use our abilities to tell them that they're wrong. Isn't that enough?" Hu Yuhao was suddenly jolted. He looked in a certain direction. It was an extremely mysterious battle team. Leading them was Zhang Peng, the Scorpion Tiger Dolu. Behind Zhang Peng, there was a group of people. They were all dressed in black and wore bamboo hats on their heads. Black veils hung down, covering their appearances. Following closely behind Zhang Peng was a lady with an extremely good figure. Behind the woman was Tangya. However, Hu Yuhao didn't look at Tangya. Instead, his gaze stopped on the lady in front of her. "Sister." Hu Yuhao's voice was trembling. "What?" The Tang men were shocked. They looked at the lady. They only knew 2 people who could be called sister by Hu Yuhao. One was Wang Qiuer, and the other was Ma Xiaotao. "I can't be wrong. She must be my sister. I'm most familiar with her figure," Hu Yuhao said with certainty. The lady seemed to feel his gaze. She looked in Hu Yuhao's direction. Suddenly, her body trembled. She subconsciously wanted to rush out. "However, miss, please calm down. If you go and meet Master now, you'll be exposed. Bear with it." A voice that only she could hear sounded. The lady clenched her fists tightly. "I know." The lady looked at Hu Yuhao again. "I've finally met you, brother, at this moment." A group of people had arrived from afar. They were also escorted by the Imperial Soul Engineer Legion. A group of carriages arrived below the rostrum. This group of carriages was completely golden. At the front, there was a small palace-like dragon carriage pulled by 32 horned and scaled horses. Behind it, there were many guards and officials of the Sun-Moon Empire who were dressed extravagantly. The dragon carriage stopped in front of the rostrum. 2 maidservants standing on it lifted the curtain embroidered with silver lotuses. Following this, a wheelchair was pushed out. There was a handsome young man sitting on top of it. It's him. Yuhao saw that the person who came out of the dragon carriage wasn't the Sun Moon Empire's emperor. It was the crown prince, Su Tianran. Only the emperor could ride in the dragon carriage. Su Tianran riding in the dragon carriage openly meant that he was here. Following this, Yuhao's gaze froze again. He was shocked to see that the person pushing the wheelchair was Juzi. Juzi was still as beautiful as ever. Her skin seemed to be even more tender. Compared to the last time they met, her beautiful eyes were a little more dignified. As her eyes flashed, she was as noble as an empress. However, Yuhao could feel the loneliness and coldness in her heart. There were many negative emotions. Su Tianran, if anything happens to Juzi, I'll destroy your nest. Yuhao thought to himself. There was another person beside Juzi. Wasn't that the hallmaster of the illustrious Virtue Hall, Jing Hongqian? He was an important figure in the Sun Moon Empire. At the same time, he was a Class 9 Soul Engineer. Greetings, Royal Regent. Greetings, Royal Regent. Other than the Imperial Soul Engineer Legion, all the officials present knelt down and greeted Su Tianran. Following this, Dragon Emperor Doluo and Dragon Xiaoyao came out. The first round was between the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy and the Dragon Slayer sect. Meng Hongqian defeated their team leader. Yuhao and the others were naturally not interested. They were having afternoon tea now. However, there were always people who would disturb this temporary peace. I've finally found you. Meng Hongqian, who was wearing a light blue dress, stood in front of the table and stared at Yuhao. He was even more beautiful and handsome than before. You've become even more handsome than before, Yuhao. Meng Hongqian smiled as she looked at Yuhao. Haha, you've become more beautiful too. Yuhao was just brushing her off. However, this sentence made Meng Hongqian very happy. She couldn't be any happier. She laughed and said, "Why aren't you representing the Shrek Academy in the competition? I found out from the organizing committee that you're representing the Tang sect in this competition. You're just pretending to be weak to take advantage of the strong. Or what?" Yuhao said, "What do you mean by pretending to be weak? We're members of the Tang men. What's wrong with representing the sect? It's not early anymore. If there's nothing else, you should go back and rest. We still have a competition tomorrow. Donger, let's go." "You are?" Meng Hongqian only noticed Tang Donger now. She was shocked. This young girl looked very similar to the girl who had used the martial soul fusion skill between Yuhao and Tang Dong 5 years ago. "I'm Tang Donger. I'm also Tang Dong." Tang Donger laughed. She didn't mind that she was talking to Yuhao. She also trusted Yuhao. "Ah, you're actually a girl?" Meng Hongqian was shocked. She only laughed. She left with Yuhao. Meng Hongqian was left behind in a daze. It was obvious that the two of them were already a couple. She pouted. What's so great about that? I can definitely snatch him away from you." The next day, it was time for the Tang men to compete. Next round, the Tang men against the Dragon sect. Both parties will enter the waiting area. The first contestant will enter the stage, the referee announced. Yuhao and the rest stood up and walked towards the waiting area. He thought to himself, the Earth Dragon sect. If I'm not wrong, the girl who always goes crazy should be here too, right? Nan Qiuqiu, the descendant of the Annihilation Dragon King, and the possessor of the Rouge Dragon Martial Soul, was also one of my few girlfriends. I don't think too much about it. I'm just concerned about her. Of course, it was also true that he managed to conquer her in the end. He couldn't help but feel a little helpless. He really didn't know how to deal with this girl who always goes crazy. However, he had to deal with some of his teammates first. Yuhao attracted everyone's attention the moment he stepped onto the stage. He was too beautiful and too handsome. Of course, Juzi had the biggest reaction. If not for the fact that Su Tianran was beside her, she would have jumped into his arms. Yuhao, you're here. The referee lowered his voice and said, all of you are clear about the rules. I won't repeat them. Both parties, please step back. Wait for my signal to start the match. Yes. Yuhao smiled and nodded at the referee. He was about to step back. Hey! The Earth Dragon sect youth suddenly shouted. Oh! Yuhao turned around and looked at him curiously. What's the matter? The Earth Dragon sect youth asked. Aren't you going to tell me your name? Sorry, I forgot. Yuhao smiled and said, my name is Yuhao. What about you? Many of the guys almost couldn't hold themselves back. However, this Earth Dragon sect youth was quite smart. He wasn't confused. My name is Su Shinshu. Remember who defeated you? After he finished speaking, the Earth Dragon sect youth turned around and strode away. When he stomped on the ground with his right foot, there was a thump. His body flashed and appeared more than 10 meters away. After a few leaps, he was already at the edge of the stage. Defeated me? Yuhao narrowed his eyes. There was still a smile on his face. Then I'll wait and see. Sun and moon, this guy is going to get serious. Xiao Hongchen muttered. Ah, brother, how did you know? Meng Hongchen was in disbelief. Didn't we see this smile before? We witnessed his true abilities then, didn't we? That seems to be the case. Also, Meng, you should put him down. You know that it's impossible between the two of you. I'm not listening. Yuhao, you deserve to die. You won't even let my sister off. The referee raised his hand high and looked at both parties, especially at Yuhao's side. After confirming that they were ready, he lowered his right arm and announced the start of the match. Roar! Su Shinshu roared into the sky. His body shot out like a cannonball. He stomped his right foot heavily on the ground, and his body exploded into the air. In the air, the bones in his body crackled, and 2 yellow and 3 purple soul rings appeared on his body one after another. His body also started to swell rapidly as he released his martial soul. The Earth Dragon sect was just as its name suggested. Almost all the soul masters in this sect had various types of Earth Dragon soul beasts as their martial souls. As Su Shinshu's body swelled, a layer of black keratin appeared on the surface of his skin. Bumps started to appear on his back. Following the rupture of the bulge, thick, sharp, sawtooth-like dorsal fins appeared. His martial soul was the saber-tooth Earth Dragon. It was a pure strength-type soul beast. It was good at both offense and defense. Its weakness was that it wasn't good at long-range attacks. Yuhao crossed his arms in front of his chest and didn't move. Just as Su Shinshu was about to reach Yuhao, a white figure emerged from Yuhao's body. A 3-year-old girl with white hair appeared in front of everyone. Su Shinshu was stunned. He hurriedly changed the direction he was charging in. He was here to compete, not to kill. Furthermore, it was such a cute little girl. How could he bear to do it? Uncle! The little girl called out softly. Her voice was childish and even a little unclear. It could only be vaguely distinguished. After Su Shinshu changed his direction, he lost his balance because of the force he exerted. When he heard such a cute little girl call out to him, he subconsciously acknowledged her. Then, he saw the little girl smile sweetly at him. Her beautiful big eyes were filled with a sense of intimacy. Seeing this, his heart couldn't help but soften. Then, he saw that tender little hand pointing at him. After that, an ice sculpture appeared in front of everyone. The little girl clapped her chubby hands happily. She sat on Yuhao's right shoulder and said, "It's done, Daddy." Yuhao's mouth twitched. However, he maintained his composure. He patted her head and smiled. "Thank you, Xiao Shui. It's over?" There were hundreds of thousands of people in the arena. No one could have guessed the outcome. No one. Even the Tangmen didn't know that Yuhao would release the Snow Empress spirit. The Earth Dragon Sect's team members were all stunned. How could they have expected such an outcome? The referee quickly ran over and checked on Su Shinshu's condition. After that, he immediately announced that Yuhao was the winner of this round. The referee's gaze didn't leave the Snow Lady at all. He had clearly heard the Snow Maiden call out to him as her father just then. Yuhao had never heard of anyone bringing a child to the Continental Elite Youth Soul Master Tournament, let alone seeing one. Is she really my daughter? No, that's impossible. She's so young. How can she be so strong? Don't tell me this is his soul skill? However, he didn't even release his martial soul earlier. Or perhaps this was his martial soul? Even this judge, who was not weak, had so many doubts in his heart, let alone the other judges and contestants. Everyone was confused when they saw the Snow Lady. All sorts of guesses surfaced. When Xiao Shui came in front of Su Shinshu to defrost him, Su Shinshu froze. Su Shinshu trembled as he looked at this cute little girl. Yuhao had already won 3 rounds in a row. Xiao Shui had won all 3 rounds. Yuhao didn't even have to do anything. This time, the Earth Dragon sect sent an 18-year-old girl. She was very pretty, and her pink hair flowed behind her back. Yuhao's lazy gaze finally turned serious. When the girl saw Yuhao's serious expression, she was stunned. He was so handsome when he was serious. Hello, I'm Nanchiochio. I'm the team leader of the Earth Dragon sect. The girl took the initiative to greet Yuhao. Yuhao laughed. Hello. I'm Yuhao. I'm the 6th member of the Tangmen. You're much stronger than the previous 3. Nanchiochio laughed. Thank you for your compliment. She looked at Xiao Shui on his right shoulder and said, I know that she's your martial soul's ability. That's why I won't go easy on her like my teammate. After she finished speaking, she nodded at Yuhao and walked away. Yuhao laughed and looked at Xiao Shui. Xiao Shui, come back. Xiao Shui pouted unwillingly. It was obvious that she didn't want to go back. Nanchiochio can't be frozen into an ice sculpture. She's my friend. Yuhao communicated with her telepathically. Xiao Shui pouted and disappeared. Nanchiochio was a little disappointed. She thought that she would be able to fight against that little fellow. Looking at Yuhao, it seemed like he didn't want to use Xiao Shui. On the main stage, Su Tianran asked Zhu Zi, is the female soul master from the Earth Dragon sect their team leader? Zhu Zi replied respectfully, Yes, Your Highness. Her name is Nanchiochio, and she's the Earth Dragon sect's team leader. Although a few of their main members didn't fight this time, Nanchiochio is the strongest member of their sect. She's probably here to play it safe. Su Tianran said, Yes, not bad. Although you're no longer in charge of intelligence, you're still well informed. Who do you think will win this round? Zhu Zi was stunned for a moment. After that, she shook her head and said, I can't guess. Su Tianran said, Yuhao. He was once an exchange student at the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy. He's the disciple of the same teacher as you. Don't you know his abilities? Zhu Zi was shocked. However, she remained calm on the surface. She subconsciously glanced at the middle-aged man behind Su Tianran. He was the one who had passed Su Tianran a piece of paper. I've only interacted with Yuhao for less than half a month. My understanding of him is limited. I only know that he was a 5-ringed soul king. However, he has twin martial souls. However, he's in a wheelchair now. I'm not sure how strong he is, or how much he's improved over the past 2 years. That's why I don't dare to make a judgment. Oh, then let's wait and see. Su Tianran smiled. Yes. Zhu Zi acknowledged his words respectfully. Your Highness. Jing Hongqian, who was sitting on the other side of Zhu Zi, suddenly said. Su Tianran looked at him with a questioning look in his eyes. Jing Hongqian said in a deep voice, We can't let him live. After this tournament, we have to make sure that he disappears forever. Su Tianran was shocked as he looked at Jing Hongqian. Why is the Hall Master so interested in such an insignificant person? Jing Hongchen laughed bitterly. I'm not afraid of you laughing at me, Your Highness. He's just an insignificant person, and I've suffered a lot because of him. Not only is he talented, but he's also very intelligent. He's also able to assess the situation and make use of all the resources available to him. Furthermore, he's very talented in soul tools. The last time I saw him, he was already a Class 7 soul engineer. I only found out from my grandson that he's not representing the Shrek Academy. Instead, he's representing the Tangmen. Su Tianran was very interested. What did he do to make the Hall Master so afraid? To be able to participate in the tournament meant that he wasn't even 20 years old. For him to be able to make Jing Hongchen, the Hall Master of the illustrious Virtue Hall, fear him, there had to be something special about him. Jing Hongchen said, Yuhao was the champion of the Shrek Academy in the last tournament. Back then, he didn't even have 3 rings. However, he participated in the tournament with his teammates. He even displayed his abilities in an important tournament. He has twin martial souls. One is spiritual type, while the other is ice type. Furthermore, his ice-type martial soul is the rare and powerful ultimate ice. Being able to participate in the tournament twice in a row has already proven his abilities. Furthermore, when he left our academy to return to Shrek, he was even lucky enough to escape Elder Long's pursuit. After hearing his words, Su Tianran was shocked. How is that possible? What's his cultivation? How could he follow Elder Long? So this is the kid who made the bet with Uncle Long, the person who was completely covered in black, sitting on the other side of Su Tianran, said plainly. His voice was very strange. Not only could Su Tianran not tell his age, he couldn't even tell if he was a man or a woman. Imperial Tutor, do you know this kid? Su Tianran asked the person beside him. Yes, I do, Your Highness. We can't kill him. He's very important to our sect. Tangya also looked over. She first saw Yuhao, and then she saw Bei Bei. She seemed to be in a daze. Her body didn't move as she stood there. She gave off the feeling that she had lost her soul. However, while she didn't move, Bei Bei moved. At this moment, he was like a gust of wind as he charged towards Tangya at lightning speed. How many years had it been? Ever since the previous tournament ended, Tangya had gone missing. It had already been close to 5 years since then. The boy had become a young man and the girl had grown up. When he saw Tangya again, Bei Bei only felt that his heart was about to jump out of his chest. His entire heart was filled with endless love for Tangya. At this moment, he was no longer as calm as before. In his heart there was only Tangya, Tangya, Tangya. In the next instant, he was in front of Tangya. He grabbed her shoulders with both hands and said in a trembling voice, Tangya, Tangya, where have you been all these years? Do you know how hard it was for me to find you? At this moment, Yuhao suddenly shouted, Eldest Senior, be careful. At this moment, Tangya finally moved. She raised her hands and pressed them against Bei Bei's chest, as if she was trying to push him away. However, in the next moment, she suddenly raised her head, and the dark blue in the depths of her eyes suddenly lit up. Bei Bei was stunned. He felt as if he was looking at 2 bottomless abysses. His gaze was immediately attracted to them. In the next instant, an irresistible force came from his chest. His entire body flew backwards like a kite with a broken string. Fresh blood spurted out of Bei Bei's mouth as he flew backwards. His entire body was covered by a layer of dark blue light that was crazily devouring his life force. Yuhao and Su Sanshur were the fastest to react amongst the Tangmen. The 2 of them instantly caught Bei Bei. Yuhao gently pushed Bei Bei's chest. In an instant, the dark blue light disappeared, and the force that was devouring Bei Bei's life force instantly dissipated. Bei Bei opened his eyes weakly and looked at Tangya in disbelief. Tangya, are you crazy? He's Bei Bei. He's your lover. Su Sancher looked at her furiously. If Hu Yuhao hadn't saved Bei Bei in time, Bei Bei might have been bedridden for a week. Third senior, it's useless. Teacher Tang Ya is no longer the original teacher Tang Ya. Hu Yuhao frowned. What? Yuhao, what do you mean? The most agitated person was naturally Bei Bei. I can feel that teacher Tang Ya doesn't have any thoughts right now. She's like a walking corpse. Furthermore, that force earlier had a trace of evil. I'm afraid that teacher Tang Ya has become an evil soul master. Hu Yuhao said seriously. What? Everyone was shocked. At this moment, a few black-clothed men came in front of Tang Ya. One of them was an elder who looked towards the Tang men. Hu Yuhao furrowed his brow as he looked at the elder who was leading the group. He was Zhang Peng, titled Doluo, titled Scorpion Tiger. He was a half-evil soul master. A few months ago, he and the Dragon Emperor Doluo had intercepted him and Yan Xiaozhe. Hu Yuhao realized that Nana was suddenly grabbing onto his shirt behind him. Her entire body was trembling. She was afraid. Hu Yuhao grabbed her hand. Nana finally felt better, but the fear in her eyes was still evident. Zhang Peng, Scorpion Tiger Doluo, looked coldly in the direction of the Tang men. He immediately saw Hu Yuhao in the wheelchair and was stunned. He was also delighted. This is great. The Holy Sun is here too. I didn't expect this. I can actually see Senior again. Hu Yuhao looked at him coldly. Haha. You're much stronger than before, kid. Very good. Very good. Ha. Zhang Peng laughed. Tang Ya looked plainly at Hu Yuhao and then at Bei Bei. After that, she turned and left. The black-clothed men and Zhang Peng left with her. Xiao Ye. Bei Bei was a little dejected as he looked at Tang Ya's back. They had reunited after 5 years, but all he got was a slap from her. He was heartbroken. Eldest senior, it's okay. We'll definitely save teacher Xiao Ye. We'll definitely wake her up. Hu Yuhao patted Bei Bei's left shoulder. That's right. Bei Bei, you have to pull yourself together. We can't do it without you. This way, we'll be lacking a lot of our main forces. Su Sancher punched his chest. After a long while, Bei Bei finally recovered. Bei Bei sighed and said, I'm sorry, everyone. I was too careless. I didn't do my job well as the eldest senior. From now on, Yuhao will be in charge of the team. He'll be in charge of the strategy and tactic. I need to rest for a while. Everyone nodded. After the referee announced the start of the match, Nan Qiuqiu released her martial soul. 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 1 black soul ring. These 5 soul rings were the best combination, and they showed that she was a soul king. Her body was covered with dark red scales. The power of annihilation. It's a pity that it's not as powerful as Little Min. Hu Yuhao suddenly lowered his head and muttered. When he raised his head again, he was expressionless. The Rouge Dragon with Little Min's bloodline power? There are some parts of her bloodline that are hidden. Hu Yuhao muttered. Hey, what are you talking about? Nan Qiuqiu was already prepared to unleash her ultimate move. Forget it, I'll treat it as a gift for you. Whether or not you can transform into an existence like Little Min will depend on you. Hu Yuhao said expressionlessly. Following this, Hu Yuhao finally used his martial soul, the Ice Dragon King. Ice blue dragon scales, dragon claws, and dragon wings appeared at the same time. Immediately, the surrounding temperature began to plummet. Nan Qiuqiu instantly felt a sense of subservience, and she quickly knelt down. However, Nan Qiuqiu was very stubborn. How could she kneel just like that? She forced herself not to kneel. Suddenly, she realized that her vision began to blur. No, a blizzard had appeared, and Hu Yuhao and she were surrounded. She couldn't see outside, and the people outside couldn't see inside. What is he trying to do? Hu Yuhao slowly took out an item. It was a small pink pearl, and there was even a dragon pattern on the pearl. When this pearl appeared, Nan Qiuqiu felt as if something in her body had been drawn out. She immediately felt as if she had broken through 3 ranks. Nan Qiuqiu subconsciously sat cross-legged on the ground. Only a part of it has been drawn out, and it's already so effective? Hui Yuhao muttered. He looked at the pearl in his hand again. Hey, Hantian, what are you trying to do? At this moment, another person's voice sounded in his mind. Wasn't that Hui Yuhao's voice? Nothing much. I just saw that this girl has so much potential but can't unleash it, so I'm trying to help her. At the same time, Hui Yuhao said. He walked towards Nan Qiuqiu, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground. I'm giving her a good fortune. As he spoke, he pressed the pearl against her chest. The pearl instantly disappeared into her body. It's done. Hui Yuhao chuckled. The dragon core of the Dragon King of Annihilation. You actually fused something like that with her? Hui Yuhao's voice sounded again. Little Min used to be one of my few friends. However, she fell during the War of the Dragon God. I took away her dragon source at that time, and after a period of time, it has already turned into a dragon core. Hui Yuhao said indifferently. I want to find a suitable owner for her dragon core, and this girl just so happens to be. Then, he lowered his head. When Hui Yuhao raised his head, Nan Qiuqiu had just woken up, and Hui Yuhao's hand had yet to retract. Instantly, her face turned red. Ah! With a scream, she slapped Hui Yuhao without saying a word. However, with her little strength, how could she slap him? Hui Yuhao grabbed her hand with a backhand. At the same time, he cursed Han Tian in his heart. You're such a scammer, you. What did you do to me? Nan Qiuqiu hurriedly broke free from Hui Yuhao's hand. She covered her chest with both hands and took 5 steps back. She looked at Hui Yuhao with a red face and anger. It's nothing. I've already unlocked the potential in your body. You have such a strong talent and martial soul, but it has always been in the hidden stage. I just helped you. What? Nan Qiuqiu sensed herself and was shocked. She was originally rank 55, but now she was rank 60. That's right, she was rank 60. Furthermore, she felt her martial soul. She hurriedly released her martial soul, and suddenly, a huge aura erupted. Dark pink dragon scales covered her entire body, and her pupils turned into dark pink vertical slits. There was a pair of dark pink dragon horns on her head, and a pair of huge dark pink dragon wings on her back. 5 soul rings slowly appeared. They were still 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 1 black, but she could clearly feel that her soul skill had changed. My martial soul, your martial soul, is the descendant of the legendary Dragon King of Annihilation, the Rouge Dragon. I've awakened the bloodline of the Dragon King of Annihilation, and your martial soul has evolved into the Dragon King of Annihilation. Nan Qiuqiu didn't know what to do now. Why did you help me? What do you want me to do? I'll tell you first, I will definitely not sell my body or perform. Nan Qiuqiu said very seriously. Hui Yuhao almost fell. What are you thinking? I value your annihilation ability very much. Why don't you join my sect? What? That's impossible. Even my mother didn't agree, how can I agree? Dream on. Nan Qiuqiu immediately rejected. Why don't we make a bet? Let's compete again. This time, if you win, I'll give you another opportunity. But if you lose, you'll join our Tangmen. Hui Yuhao said with a smile. Nan Qiuqiu was stunned. Okay. It's a deal. This girl is too easy to trick, isn't she? Hui Yuhao thought to himself. In the end, Nan Qiuqiu could only be crushed in Hui Yuhao's snowy dance of ultimate ice. Ah. You cheated. In your world, I can't beat you at all. You cheated. Nan Qiuqiu pointed at him and roared angrily. However, the people outside couldn't hear her at all. The people outside didn't know what was going on inside. You said it. It's a deal. From now on, you're a member of the Tangmen. Hui Yuhao ignored her and immediately deactivated the snowy dance of ultimate ice. Everyone finally saw the two of them. However, Hui Yuhao was safe and sound. Nan Qiuqiu, on the other hand, was in a very sorry state. "Referee, I've won," Huo Yuhao said. The referee announced Huo Yuhao's victory just like that. Nan Qiuqiu was very angry now. Not only did she not win, but she also lost her life. He suddenly turned around and said angrily, "I made a bet with you. If you die, I won't kill you. If you die, I won't have to keep my promise." As she said that, she suddenly turned to her team's waiting area and shouted, "I'll marry whoever kills this bastard for me." Her voice was a little loud. Not only did her teammates in the waiting area hear her, but even the people on the main stage heard her clearly. Naturally, they didn't hear the conversation between Huo Yuhao and Nan Qiuqiu during the competition. Now that they heard her shout, a huge question mark appeared in everyone's mind. What did Huo Yuhao do to her? Huo Yuhao almost fainted again. This girl was really stupid. It's useless for you to say that. No one here can beat me. Huo Yuhao's voice traveled into Nan Qiuqiu's ears. Nan Qiuqiu trembled. Yes. Once that domain was activated, Huo Yuhao was basically invincible. Remember, you're already part of the Tangmen. Go back and pack your things quickly. I lost unjustly. After that, all the members of the Earth Dragon sect lost to Huo Yuhao. Huo Yuhao won by himself. He was too strong. Qiuqiu, shouldn't you give me an explanation? An angry voice rang out. Nan Qiuqiu's body suddenly trembled. She turned around and saw that the person who spoke to her was a beautiful middle-aged woman who looked 60 to 70% similar to her. However, at this moment, his face was covered with frost. "Mom," Nan Qiuqiu said softly. "Don't call me Mom. You've embarrassed the Earth Dragon sect. I let you direct the competition, but you sent a few main players, and 7 of them were defeated. You. She was Nan Qiuqiu's mother, Nan Shuai. Nan Shuai suddenly felt that her daughter's aura and appearance were different from before. "Qiuqiu, why do I feel that you're a little different?" Just like that, Nan Qiuqiu was subdued by Huo Yuhao. Even her mother and Huo Yuhao decided to sell her to the Tangmen. The scene changed to Huo Yuhao and Hikada's participation in the Soul Engineering Tournament. 2 men wearing the same clothes as the middle-aged guide blocked their way. After a simple conversation, one of the 2 middle-aged men said, "The competitors can enter. Those who are not involved can wait outside. Place your bets immediately." Wang Dong raised her eyebrows. Huo Yuhao waved his hand and said, "Xiao Dong, Xiao Na, the 2 of you can go out first. Xiao Na, go and place your bets. I wonder how many times today's bets can be multiplied." The middle-aged man said plainly, "If the number of people who qualify is accurate, the bets can be multiplied by 10 times. Huo Yuhao said, "Just now, I said that I wanted to bet that the 2 of us would qualify." The middle-aged man said plainly, "There's no such bet. This is only the qualifiers. However, you have to complete your bets. Otherwise, you won't be able to compete." Huo Yuhao was stunned. "You didn't mention this before." The middle-aged man who blocked their path said coldly, "Who told you to be late? Time waits for no one. The end of the tournament is getting closer and closer." Huo Yuhao smiled warmly and said, "All right then. Xiao Dong, Xiao Na, the 2 of you can go. Let's do as he says. We'll place our bets. However, I hope you have the guts to stay here. I'm a very stingy person. If you cause me to lose money, I'll give you a hard time. If you lose money, I want you to pay me back with your life." The middle-aged man was stunned for a moment. He looked at Huo Yuhao's warm smile, and for some reason, he suddenly felt a little stunned. However, it only lasted for an instant before he returned to normal. He said disdainfully, "This is the Duskwater Alliance. As long as you have the ability, what's my cheap life worth?" Huo Yuhao smiled and nodded. "Very good. Lead the way." Of course, they didn't have the right to compete on stage. They were brought to 2 metal tables in the corners of the outer ring where the tournament had already ended. Huo Yuhao frowned and said, "Don't tell me you don't even provide materials for soul tools?" The middle-aged man had just been threatened by him. How could he be nice to him? We do have them. However, based on what you said just now, we naturally don't have them. Since you're late, prepare your own materials. After he finished speaking, he turned and left. A yellow-clothed old man walked over. He stood behind the two of them. It was just like the situation behind the other tables. Are there any rules for the tournament? Yuhao asked the elder in yellow. The elder pointed to a table that was being used not far from them and said, "There's an hourglass over there. Take a look for yourself. You have to create at least a Class 3 soul tool before the last grain of sand falls from the hourglass. You'll have the right to continue if you complete it. If you don't complete it, you'll be eliminated. Let's begin. I'll make sure that you don't use finished or semi-finished soul tools to cheat." Yuhao sighed and said, "It's too harsh of you not to provide materials. Then I can only use materials from the ground." As he spoke, he grabbed the corner of the table with his right hand and gently bent it. A corner of the metal table was easily broken off, and he gave a piece to Hikaitu. "Elder brother, it's barely enough. Make do with it." Hikaitu nodded. The judge was already stunned. He had easily broken off a corner of the metal table. A standard long table made from soul tools, worth 5,000 gold soul coins. He hurriedly said, "Shut up. It's not like I don't know." Yuhao was stunned as he glanced at him. After being glanced at by Yuhao, he actually felt suffocated and subconsciously trembled. In less than a minute, Yuhao had created a simplified Class 4 energy-gathering soul cannon. He looked at the stunned judge and said, "Hey! I'm done." The elder in yellow wiped the sweat off his forehead and looked at Yuhao in shock. He said, "The soul tool you've created is..." Yuhao smiled. "A simplified Class 4 energy-gathering soul cannon." The judge probed, "May I ask what class are you?" Yuhao smiled and said, "You'll know in the future. My elder brother is done too." Hikaitu had created a wide wristband, the kind that men would use. He hurriedly went over to inspect it. This is a storage-type soul tool? A storage-type soul tool made from stainless steel? Heavens! This is too much of a waste of your strength." The elder in yellow didn't know what to say anymore. Through testing, he discovered that this wide wristband could provide about 5 liters of storage space. It definitely wouldn't be a problem for it to reach the standard of a Class 3 soul tool. The two of you have passed the qualifiers. Tomorrow we will begin the first round of the competition. It's a straight elimination round. Every round will eliminate a third of the total number of people in the previous round, until the final champion is decided. This is your proof of passing the qualifiers. The two of you can use this proof to receive your reward for this round from the staff. As he spoke, he passed over 2 badges made from pure gold. There were numbers on them. Yuhao received 71, while Hikaitu received 72. "It's over so quickly? Did you know that you couldn't pass and quit?" People with mocking faces were always so detestable. The middle-aged man who'd mocked Yuhao earlier had seized the opportunity to appear again. Yuhao smiled and opened his left hand. He said, "I just want to know where I can receive my reward." When the middle-aged man saw the golden badge in Yuhao's hand, he was like a duck who'd been grabbed by the neck. His voice was completely suppressed. This is impossible. How long has it been? You're cheating." Yuhao smiled at him and said, "You have to take responsibility for your words." At this moment the elder in yellow rushed over and hurriedly said, I'm sorry, my 2 distinguished guests. This is a misunderstanding. Great King, why aren't you apologizing to your 2 distinguished guests?" "Great King, what a domineering name," Yuhao said with a smile. The middle-aged man's face turned green and red. He snorted coldly and turned to leave. "Don't go. I still have something to tell you," Yuhao suddenly said. Great King was stunned. He turned around and suppressed the fear in his heart. What else do you have to say? Yuhao said, I don't think I'll be able to win today's bet. Do you still remember what I said just now? Great King's face instantly changed. When Yuhao had threatened him with a smile, he hadn't taken it seriously. After all, he didn't think that a 16-year-old kid would be able to pass the competition. But now, with the confirmation of the elder in yellow, Yuhao and his brother had both passed the competition in such a short time. He knew very well what this meant. Although he was eccentric and mocking, he wasn't a fool. He knew that he couldn't afford to offend such a person. After all, he was only a 3-ringed soul elder. The competition isn't over yet. How do you know you can't win? Great King said with a hint of fear in his voice. Yuhao smiled. When I saw your face, I knew I couldn't win. Didn't you do anything? I saw you walk out just now. Great King subconsciously took a few steps back. He looked at him in disbelief. Yuhao raised his head. He narrowed his eyes and smiled as he muttered to himself, I have a very good virtue, and that is, I keep my word. Unknowingly, darkness began to appear behind him. He gently raised his right hand. Honorable guest, you can't. The elder in yellow hurriedly shouted. But his words were still a step too late. 4 pitch-black chains appeared out of thin air from the world of darkness behind him. One by one, they pierced Great King's head, left chest, right chest, and stomach. Instantly, blood splattered. Great King seemed to feel nothing. He was directly pulled away by the 4 chains and merged into the world of darkness behind him. I hope you can really become a king in that world. However, that's impossible. In that world, you're just a low-level specter. Yuhao said plainly. The darkness behind him had already disappeared. The sudden change immediately caused a wave of intense exclamations. This was an important stronghold of the Duskwater Alliance. Who would have thought that someone would dare to kill someone here? Furthermore, it was done in such a terrifying manner. At the same time that the guests were alarmed, many black-clothed big men immediately surrounded them, including some yellow-clothed referees, as well as a manager wearing the same long gown as the King of Kings. In the blink of an eye, they had already surrounded the 2 of them so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Do you want to go to that world too? Alright, I'll send you there. Darkness appeared behind Yuhao once again. Hikaitu took a step forward. Clanging sounds could be heard as he transformed into a terrifying metal fortress in a matter of seconds under the astonished gazes of the Duskwater Alliance's fighters. Hundreds of soul cannon barrels were coldly aimed in all directions. A terrifying and oppressive aura instantly caused those who wanted to get close to him to retreat in panic. Stop! What's going on? A loud shout rang out. Following this, a figure descended from the sky. 3 yellow and 2 purple soul rings shone as he landed in the inner circle. He folded his wings and retracted them. When he saw the soul tool fortress that Hikaitu had turned into, he couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. As a Class 5 soul engineer, he was very clear about what this meant. Even a Class 6 soul tool fortress couldn't compare to this soul tool fortress. The 2 of you, please calm down first. I'm the manager of the Duskwater Alliance's Golden Hall, Chunen. Can anyone tell me what just happened? The elder in yellow, who had acted as the referee for Yuhao and Hikaitu, hurriedly stepped forward and whispered something into Chen An's ear. Chen An's expression immediately turned gloomy. He turned to look at Yuhao. After this, his expression changed. He saw the world behind him in the darkness. There were thousands of skeletons, spirits, zombies, demons, vampires, liches, bone dragons, and a bunch of pitch-black bug. They were all standing quietly behind Yuhao. There was also a torn corpse beside them. Wasn't that King Wan's corpse? At this moment, he saw that King Wan's spirit was in the hands of one of the liches. Chen An's body started to tremble. He was afraid. That huge army seemed to be able to swallow him up in an instant. If you want to attack, go ahead. However, I have more subordinates than 1 billion. Yuhao's voice echoed in his mind. You are. Chen lost his voice. Yuhao said plainly, "It's good that you know it in your heart, honorable sir. I didn't know you were coming." He hurriedly bowed. "What's next?" "Of course I'm going back, however." Kaitu asked Yuhao what that ability was. Yuhao said that he would explain it in the future. He had already demonstrated necromancy to the elders, and they could feel the power of light. Therefore, they didn't say anything to Yuhao. They just said that he should use necromancy less in the future. Chapter 55. The second day would be the clash between Shrek and the Sun-Moon battle team. Wang Qiu'er slowly stood up. She did not walk towards the waiting area. Instead, she turned around and looked at Dai Huabin and the rest. "Do you still remember what I said yesterday?" Wang Qiu'er said. "Yes." All the members of Shrek's team, regardless of whether they were the main team or the substitutes, replied in unison. Their voices were loud and resonant, and the rest of the teams in the waiting area looked over. Not only were the spectators paying close attention to this match, but the participating teams were also paying close attention. Shrek's name was too resounding, after all. The names of these two teams meant that this was destined to be an intense competition that was akin to the collision of two continents. Dai Huabin was the closest to Wang Qiu'er. Right now, his eyes were filled with a burning light. He looked at Wang Qiu'er as if he was looking at his religion. Only a fanatic could display such passion. It was not just him. Everyone in Shrek's team remembered what Qiu'er had said yesterday. "Tomorrow, we will be facing the Sun-Moon battle team. Do you know why the Tangmen gave up on their opponents in the knockout stages, but went all out against the Sun-Moon battle team in the first round of the round-robin stage? Let me tell you. That's because the Tangmen were afraid that we would lose. They wanted to weaken their opponents as much as possible to create an opportunity for us. Tell me, do we need them to create an opportunity for us? We are here for the glory of Shrek. If it weren't for the fact that Shrek's 7 monsters were representing the Tang sect, then it's very likely that we would only be substitutes. In the previous tournament I had not come to Shrek yet. However, I have heard about the performance of the Tangmen. At that time they were only substitute. But in the end, they brought back the championship. I want to ask you if you have the heart of a champion. We are a member of Shrek. We are the glorious Shrek, the glorious Shrek. Our advancement does not depend on the pity of others, but on our own strength. Tomorrow, if anyone dares to screw up this old lady will skin him alive after the competition. Do you understand? Not only do we have to show the Sun-Moon team how strong we are, but we also have to show the Tangmen that we don't have the strength to become champions without them. Shrek must win tomorrow's battle. Shrek Academy Team against the Sun-Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy Team. The first round of the individual elimination round. Both sides, please report your names. Today's referee was still Unbreakable Dolu. All the other teams were satisfied with his impartiality, and some of the more important competitions were personally officiated by this titled Doluo and Class 9 Soul Engineer. There was no doubt that there was nothing more important than the battle between the Shrek battle team and the Sun-Moon battle team. Xingzhan was actually having a headache as he looked at both teams. He was very clear about the feud between Shrek's team and the Sun-Moon Empire's team. This was definitely going to be a fight to the death. Both teams couldn't afford to lose. Shrek, Wang Qiu'er. Wang Qiu'er was still wearing a veil, and her pinkish-blue hair swayed behind her head, although her face couldn't be seen. However, her beautiful big eyes and alluring figure were enough to leave a deep impression on many people. Sun-Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy, Yi Kan's Hang. Although this member of the Sun-Moon Empire's team was tall and big, he didn't have much meat on him. He gave off the feeling that he was all skin and bones. There was even a weird coldness to him. Both parties, please step back. Prepare for the competition, Jing Zhan instructed. This time, he didn't even say anything about not crippling his opponent. It was pointless to say that, so he might as well not say it. Wang Qiu stood still on her side and looked at her opponent. Her eyes squinted, and revealed a dim light in them. Yi Kanzhang was also staring at her. However, he grinned. His mouth suddenly widened, and he grinned all the way to his ears, revealing a mouthful of white teeth and blood-red gums. It was a disgusting sight. Wang Qiu seemed as if she didn't see anything, and remained calm. But who knew what she was thinking? On Yi Sanshang's side, 2 yellow and 3 purple soul rings quickly rose from his feet. Following this, a black light flashed on his body, and a black figure separated from his body and appeared in front of him. However, his soul rings remained on his body. It was a pitch-black skeleton, and it exuded a sinister aura. Its figure was exactly the same as Yi Sanshang's. Yi Sanshang's first soul ring flashed, and the black skeleton's body doubled in size. Its bones also became thicker and sturdier. This was Yi Sanshang's martial soul skeleton. Just as Yi Kanzhang was about to unleash his soul skill, Wang Qiu appeared in front of him in an instant. She was so fast. He wasn't the only one who thought so. Even Unbreakable Doluo, Su Tianran, and Jing Hongchen were astonished. This was because they didn't see how she appeared in front of him. That's the use of spatial power. How is that possible? Unless she's an ultimate Doluo? Zhong Liwu looked at Wang Qiu in disbelief. On the stage, Yi Kanzhang instinctively controlled his martial soul skeleton to block in front of him. Wang Qiu punched him lightly. Gotcha! His martial soul was crushed. Pooey! Yi Kanzhang suffered a backlash and spat out a mouthful of blood. However, Wang Qiu didn't intend to let him off. She grabbed his head expressionlessly. Your expression just now disgusted me. A faint voice rang out. No. Before Yi Kanzhang could shout, Wang Qiu's hand had already squeezed. Cha! Brain juice splattered everywhere. Yi Kanzhang from the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy had been killed. You! Jing Zhan glared at Wang Qiu angrily. Wang Qiu glanced at him. Jing Zhan suddenly trembled. He was actually afraid. He subconsciously took a step back. Next, Wang Qiu ignored him and said coldly. Everyone from the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy stood up. Another person had died in the first round. Meng Hongchen leapt onto the competition stage with a single leap. They couldn't let their opponents exhaust themselves like this. Otherwise, they would end up like the Tang men. How were they going to fight the team round without enough manpower? Meng Hongchen, a Class 6 Soul Engineer, was the second representative of the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy. The siblings had already planned that Yi Kanzhang would test their opponents in the first round. If their opponents were too strong, Meng Hongchen would go up. They couldn't let their opponents exhaust them like before. As she looked at Wang Qiu, Meng Hongchen's heart tightened. Is she the elder sister that Yuhao was talking about? She's really scary. Wang Qiu looked at Meng Hongchen. This stinky toad dares to target my husband? Unforgivable. Begin. Jing Zhan announced the start of the second round of the individual elimination round with an ugly look on his face. Even with his abilities as a titled Doluo, he couldn't stop the two of them from killing each other. To him, this was a huge humiliation. Meng Hongchen made her move when Jing Zhan announced the start of the round. She didn't use any close combat soul tools on herself. Instead, she unleashed her martial soul. A weird layer of icy blue spread across her body. 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 2 black soul rings rose. She displayed her cultivation as a soul emperor. However, Wang Qiu disappeared in front of her. Meng Hongchen was shocked. Stinky toad. Get off the stage. In the next moment, Wang Qiu appeared in front of Meng Hongchen. She swung her right fist at her. Meng Hongchen felt that she wasn't facing a human. She was facing an enraged dragon. Meng Hongqin didn't hesitate at all. She was very experienced, and she immediately ended her first 2 soul skills. An icy blue armor appeared on her body and protected her entire body. This time, she didn't use a weapon. Instead, she used an icy blue shield. This was a soul tool that was at least class 6. However, this soul tool was smashed into pieces by Wang Qiuer's fist. Meng Hongqin was also sent flying. She even spat out a mouthful of blood. She was blasted off the stage. Wang Qiuer flexed her right hand before she turned around valiantly. The entire place was silent, and only her cold voice could be heard. Next, Tang Men wins the second round of the individual elimination round. Jing Zhan didn't hesitate to announce the results of this round. In the waiting area, the other 6 from the Shrek Academy had already stood up. They were very excited. Wang Qiuer had defeated her opponents in 2 consecutive rounds. What kind of uplifting was this? On the Tongmen side, Yuhao looked at Wang Qiuer's figure. He seemed to be lost in his memories. That proud golden dragon lady seemed to be back 3rd round. Both parties, please come forward and introduce yourselves. Shrek, Wang Qiuer. These words were destined to be imprinted in many people's minds today. Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy, Ding Xiaobu. This youth from the Sun Moon team wasn't very tall. He was a head shorter than Wang Qiuer. He was also very skinny. It looked like a skinny little monkey. Both parties, please step back and prepare for the match. Match begin. Ding Xiaobu moved. When Jing Zhan announced the start of the match, he had already pounced to the side. His movements were very agile. Behind him, there were at least 15 lights flashing. They were all ingeniously designed soul thrusters that were placed on his body. He was an agility-type close combat soul engineer. Wang Qiuer started to move. She slowly walked forward, but Ding Xiaobu didn't seem to want to clash with her. He started to run in circles around the entire arena. He relied on the soul thrusters behind him, and his speed was alternating between fast and slow. He was also very agile. He believed that if he were to exhaust her like this, since she was an aggressive person, then it would be better to keep a distance from her. Furthermore, he had an invincible barrier to protect his life. However, in the next moment, Wang Qiuer made a grabbing motion in the air. Ding Xiaobu's body flew towards Wang Qiuer. Wang Qiuer grabbed Ding Xiaobu and punched him. 2 layers of invincible barriers were tightly attached to each other. Everyone was shocked when she punched him. Her fist didn't stop as she punched Ding Xiaobu. With a whoosh, Ding Xiaobu turned into an arc and fell off the stage. However, he wasn't seriously injured. This proved that Wang Qiuer had shown mercy. Wang Qiuer clapped her hands and said, Shrek forfeits the individual elimination round. We'll go straight to the team round. Her words were like an order. Before the referee could say anything, she had already announced the result. She didn't care about the referee at all. When Ding Xiaobu walked off the stage, he was met with a slap. Xiao Hongqin slapped him to the ground. His eyes were murderous. Lei Feng, what are you doing? You still have so many invincible barriers. Why are you admitting defeat? Team leader, let's admit defeat. She wasn't serious at all. She had been holding back all along. Her destructive power has exceeded the limits of the invincible barriers. Say that again. How can we admit defeat? Even if she's holding back, we're not afraid of her. Can she be stronger than a titled Dolua? Okay. We're all on the same team. The competition is over. As long as we can turn the tables in the team round, the public opinion will naturally come back. Do you think you can win by arguing like this? Now is the time when we need to work together. We can't afford to lose this competition. A handsome young man with an elegant temperament like that of a noble separated the Hongqin siblings and Ding Xiaobu. His gaze met with Xiao Hongqin's, then he nodded his head gently. His name was Lan Xiu. The moment he appeared, Xiao Hongchen and Meng Hongchen's arrogance was strangely restrained. Xiao Hongchen patted Ding Xiaobu's shoulder. I was impulsive. What happened just now is in the past. However, Xiaobu, you should know what will happen to us if we lose the next round. I believe everyone still remembers what the regent said last night. We have 6 people left. However, we can die in this round, but we can't lose. On the other side, in Shrek's waiting area, there were a few minutes to adjust from the individual elimination round to the team round. Captain, how are you? Dai Huabin was the first to ask with concern. I'm fine. Everything is going according to plan. Wang Qiuer's eyes flashed coldly as she said plainly. Zhu Lu, who was standing behind Dai Huabin, had a strange look in her eyes. She lowered her head slightly and wrung her hands in front of her. Yuhao could see the look in the eyes of the Tangmen. Dai Huabin. Yuhao frowned slightly. Damn it. You dare to have designs on my wife? Do you want to die? Wang Qiuer seemed to sense something. She looked in Yuhao's direction and coincidentally met Yuhao's eyes. They communicated mentally. Are you jealous? Someone is having designs on my wife? What do you think? Blushing. You be careful. Do you think they can hurt me? However, no matter what, thank you for your concern, hubby. After resting for a while, she said, let's go. Wang Qiuer shouted softly. She tapped the ground with the tip of her foot and turned into a streak of golden light as she ascended the stage. Behind her, the other 6 teammates ascended the stage one after another. On the other side, the 6 members of the Sun Moon team also ascended the stage. Both parties faced each other from a distance as they slowly walked towards the center of the stage. Xingzhan looked at both parties and was in awe. Youngsters nowadays are indeed very strong. Both parties, introduce yourselves. Shrek, Wang Qiuer. Shrek, Dai Huabin. Shrek, Zhu Lu. Shrek, Ning Tian. Shrek, Chao Jinxian. Shrek, Lan Susu. Shrek, Lan Luluo. Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy, Xiao Hongchen. Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy, Meng Hongchen. Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy, Lan Xiu. Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy, Qiu Yi. Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy, Yi Nongfeng. Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy, Ding Xiaobu. Just as the referee was about to announce the start of the match, a streak of golden light shot out from the Tongmen's side. Its target happened to be Wang Qiuer. While Dai Huabin and the others were still in shock, Wang Qiuer raised her right hand and caught the streak of golden light. The streak of golden light instantly transformed into a golden double-tipped spear. Thanks, Wang Qiuer said plainly. Everyone looked towards the Tongmen's side and saw Yuhao in the same position as he had just thrown the spear. Yuhao slowly sat down again. Wasn't that golden double-tipped spear the same one that Yuhao had used before? Everyone realized that Wang Qiuer's aura had become stronger when she caught the spear. The match begins now. Wang Qiuer pointed her spear at the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy. Chapter 56. Wang Qiuer dragged her golden spear, and the tip of the spear made a screeching sound as it touched the ground. She slowly walked towards Xiao Hongchen and the rest. A huge gust of wind blew her veil off. Everyone was stunned. They were mesmerized by her appearance. In the next moment, Xiao Hongchen and Meng Hongchen's expressions changed. So similar. So similar. 5 years ago, Yuhao and Tang Dong had fused into 2 people. That peerlessly beautiful woman actually looked so similar to the woman in front of her. Wang Qiuer suddenly stopped. Instantly, she threw her golden dragon spear out. The Sun Moon Empire's team felt as if a huge golden dragon was charging towards them. Dodge. The 6 from the Sun Moon Empire's team hurriedly dodged. Just as the spear was about to leave the arena, someone suddenly grabbed it and threw it back towards Ding Xiaobu. That person was actually Wang Qiu. She threw the spear out in that instant and caught it in the next instant. She wanted to separate them and defeat them one by one. The spear instantly pierced Ding Xiaobu. Fortunately, he used 5 invincible barriers to block it. However, he had already left the arena due to the inertia. Ding Xiaobu from the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy is eliminated. The referee announced. Wang Qiu arrived in front of the spear in the next moment. She grabbed the spear and charged towards Qiu Yi and Yi Nongfeng. Yi Nongfeng hurriedly shot out his trump card, the Aging Ray. However, it was destroyed by the Golden Dragon's spear. She arrived in front of the two of them and sent them flying. Then, she kicked them one by one. Leave the arena, Wang Qiu said coldly. The two of them left the arena just like that. Qiu Yi and Yi Nongfeng from the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy are eliminated. Jingzhan was shocked as he announced. Everyone was stunned. In less than 10 seconds, the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy had already lost 3 people. Wang Qiu was too scary. Dai Huabin and the rest were just watching in a daze. Damn it, what's the use of us with our captain around? An illusory toad appeared in the arena. Dark red energy waves gathered in its mouth. He directly spat it out. Xiao Hongqian and Meng Hongqian hugged each other. 7 soul rings surrounded Xiao Hongqian. 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 3 black. 7 soul rings. Meng Hongqian had 1 less soul ring than Xiao Hongqian. It was the martial soul fusion skill of the Hongqian siblings, Hongqian's yearning. Wang Qiu looked at the energy wave coming towards her. Finally, her martial soul was finally revealed. Gold and silver scales appeared, and the pupils were different. A pair of gold and silver dragon horns appeared on his head, and a pair of gold and silver dragon wings spread open. 7 red soul rings appeared. Yes, 7 red soul rings. Everyone looked at Wang Qiu as if they were looking at a monster. Of course, there was also a group of titled Doluo with greed in their eyes. Wang Qiu suddenly held her golden dragon spear vertically, and all 7 of her soul rings lit up at the same time. An invisible force gathered on her golden dragon spear, and she stabbed it into the ground with all her might. Instantly, the entire earth began to tremble. Hongqian's yearning had already dissipated, and Xiao Hongqian and Meng Hongqian were extremely weak. Lan Xiu suddenly felt that something was amiss, and hurriedly jumped off the stage. Even Dai Huabin and the rest felt that something was amiss, and all of them jumped off the stage. Even Jingzhan seemed to feel that something terrifying had rushed out. At this moment, 100-meter-long golden-silver dragon rushed out from the ground. It spread its wings and soared into the sky. Gold and silver lights flashed, and there was even a third eye on its forehead. It was very domineering. The dragon stared at the Hongqian siblings. Wang Qiu slowly pulled out her golden dragon spear and leaped onto the dragon's head. She looked down at the two of them from above. Death. This was the first time the Hongqian siblings felt death approaching them. On the main stage, Jing Hongqian lost his composure and shouted, "Stop the competition!" Unfortunately, he was too late. Wang Qiu had already commanded the dragon to dive towards the two of them. Wang Qiu was also prepared to slash horizontally. Whoosh! Boom! Gold and silver lights flashed across the entire arena. When the lights dissipated, the dragon was still in the sky. Wang Qiu was also standing on the dragon's head. She looked coldly at the Hongqian siblings, who were lying unconscious in the deep pit below the stage. They were still alive. Wang Qiu didn't kill them this time. Beside them, Unbreakable Doluo stared blankly at the figure in the sky. Everyone was staring at that figure. That godlike figure that could topple the world. The titled Doluo couldn't help but wonder if they would have been able to resist that attack if they had been in Wang Qiu's shoes. Everyone from the Tang sect was stunned as they looked at Wang Qiu. Yuhao's sister is so strong? They had never seen Wang Qiu fight before. They were sure that this wasn't her true strength. It might not even be considered a trace. Yuhao looked at the young girl standing on the dragon's head. Martial soul materialization? His wife actually understood all of this. She was amazing. She can switch between possession and materialization. Impressive. Golden Dragon Lady. Someone shouted. In the end, Golden Dragon Lady. Golden Dragon Lady. The entire arena was in an uproar. Unbreakable Delua's Zhengzhan finally spoke. Team Battle, Shrek Academy. Wait a minute. An angry voice rang out. The protective barrier around the competition stage was instantly deactivated. Jing Hongchen rushed onto the stage like a bolt of lightning. He was beside Xiao Hongchen in a flash. He quickly stuffed a pill into his grandson's mouth. After that, he stood up and shouted, "There's something wrong with this competition. We need to investigate thoroughly. We can't announce the results yet." The entire arena was in an uproar after he spoke. The Sun Moon Empire had indeed lost the competition. However, no one could deny that it had been an exciting and intense competition that made everyone's blood boil. Jing Hongchen's sudden appearance prevented the results from being announced. At the same time, the audience had a bad feeling. Wang Qiuer pursed her lips and stared coldly at him. Wang Qiuer jumped down from the dragon's head. She carried her golden dragon spear and said coldly, "Is the Sun Moon Empire trying to go back on their word?" Shrek's team had all arrived. Zhang Lishuan was also here. They all stared at Jing Hongchen with unfriendly gazes. The huge dragon behind Wang Qiuer also roared. It seemed like it was ready to kill him. "I've said that there's something wrong with the competition. We need to investigate thoroughly." Jing Hongchen's eyes were almost red as he spoke. Zhang Lishuan said coldly, "All right. If you say that there's something wrong, then say it out loud. Even though this is the Sun Moon Empire, and we're from Shrek, I believe that the Sun Moon Empire's people will be able to see through our eyes. However, I believe that the citizens of the Sun Moon Empire have sharp eyes. What right do you have to doubt a member of our academy? Make yourself clear. As long as you can find evidence to prove that we used unfair methods in this competition, we'll admit defeat." Jing Hongchen wanted to stop the competition and treat his grandson when he saw that Zhang Lishuan wasn't going to back down. "All right. Let's make things clear. Wang Qiuer, let me ask you, where exactly are you from? Why do you look exactly like the girl in the Tongmen's martial soul fusion skill with Yuhao and Tang Dong? We need an explanation." Wang Qiuer laughed disdainfully. "Is it a problem just because we look the same?" Jing Hongchen said coldly, "But you look exactly the same as their martial soul fusion skill." Another voice suddenly sounded. "Hallmaster Hongchen, you don't have to find excuses. Elder sister just looks like me. We're sisters." As she spoke, a figure jumped onto the competition stage and came to Wang Qiuer's side. It was Tang Dong, who was dressed as a man. Jing Hongchen was stunned. It was only now that he realized it. He realized that Tang Dong and Wang Qiuer looked very similar. "Sisters," Jing Hongchen muttered under his breath. Following this, he was stunned to see that Tang Dong had loosened the hairband that bound her hair, allowing her platinum hair to cascade down. At the same time, she rubbed her face and neck gently a few times to remove her disguise. Instantly, an almost identical face appeared in front of everyone. There were actually two of them. Tang Dong and Wang Qiuer. Tang Donger said loudly, "I'm Tang Donger. This is my elder sister, Wang Qiuer. I follow my father's surname, while she follows her mother's fake surname. Is my resemblance to my elder sister the reason for this competition's outcome? Hallmaster Hongchen, your grandson and granddaughter have lost the competition. If you refuse to admit it, you're representing the Sun Moon Empire." You. Jing Hongchen didn't expect this to happen. Tang Dong was actually a girl? Jing Hongchen looked at Wang Qiuer again. "One last question. Tell me your true cultivation. That soul skill can't be achieved by a soul sage. Also, how did you withstand 700,000-year soul rings? After he asked this question, almost everyone looked at Wang Qiu. They also wanted to know what was going on. Whoosh! The golden dragon spear was suddenly pressed against Jing Hongchen's neck. Wang Qiu said plainly, "What does this have to do with you? You." Jing Hongchen was about to explode. "Hallmaster, quickly treat your grandson. They're severely injured." Jing Zhan had already arrived beside Jing Hongchen and whispered into his ear. Unbreakable Dolua's expression was very ugly right now. As the judge, it was a slap in the face for him to be stopped by Jing Hongchen. However, his grandson and granddaughter were already in such a state. This competition was very important to the illustrious Virtue Hall, and he could understand that. Jing Hongchen glared at Tang Dong-er and Wang Qiu viciously. He grunted furiously and raised his hand to conjure a streak of red light. He swept up his grandson and granddaughter's bodies and flew away. Zhang Lishuan immediately turned to Jing Zhan and said, "Judge, it's time to announce the results." Jing Zhan nodded and looked at them deeply. Then, he announced, "The competition has ended. Shrek is victorious in the team battle." We won, we won," Ning Tian muttered to herself. Dai Huabin even hugged Zhu Lu, who was beside him. His eyes were filled with excitement and wildness. The Lan sisters hugged each other and cried. Chao Jinxian looked around and realized that he did not have anyone to celebrate with. At that moment, Zhou Siken, who had already rushed up the stage, hugged him. "Tu Gaze, I wish you happiness. We won, we won. We've defeated the Sun Moon team, and we've defended Shrek's glory. But she's still our captain. But she's still our captain." Yuhao and the rest also walked to the front of the stage. Yuhao looked at Wang Qiu, and Wang Qiu looked back at him. No words were needed to express everything. "Congratulations, you've advanced. You're also." Tang Dong watched the two of them look at each other, but she couldn't interrupt. In the end, Tang Dong finally said, "Sister Qiu, are you willing to be my sister?" Wang Qiu was stunned for a moment before she revealed a rare smile. She reached out and patted Tang Dong-er's head. "We're sisters after all." Tang Dong-er didn't hear the deeper meaning behind her words. She only thought that Wang Qiu had agreed. "Sister." "Yes, sister." Yuhao also smiled. In a sense, they were indeed sisters. Chapter 57. The Semi-Finals. The four teams entered the arena one after another. To be able to make it here today, they had all experienced many matches. To them, being in the top four of this tournament was already an extremely high honor. However, there could only be one team that could win in the end. Who would be the final victor? No one was thinking about this question right now. The most important thing was who would be able to advance in today's competition. Tangmen and Shrek Academy finally sat together. Even Dai Huabin and Zhu Lu, who didn't have a good impression of Tangmen, weren't willing to sit near Evil Soul Masters or the Heavenly Dragon sect, who were about to become their opponents. In the resting area, Wang Qiu sat at the head of the Shrek Academy's team. Her back was ramrod straight, and her sitting posture was very dignified. She didn't make any small movements. Her eyes were closed, and she was resting. At this moment, Yu Tianlong, who was also sitting at the front of the Heavenly Dragon sect, stood up and strode towards Wang Qiu. Dai Huabin, who was behind Wang Qiu, suddenly stood up when he saw his actions. His eyes shone with a cold light. "Sit down." Wang Qiu glanced at him. Dai Huabin's expression turned cold, but he still sat down obediently. Yu Tianlong stopped 3 meters away from Wang Qiu. "Wang Qiu." Yu Tianlong's eyes shone brightly as he looked at the beautiful woman in front of him. He didn't even look at Dai Huabin, who had just stood up. His attention was completely focused on Wang Qiu. "What's the matter?" Wang Qiu said in a cold voice. Yu Tianlong said in a deep voice, Do you dare to make a bet with me? Bet on what? Wang Qiu'er asked coldly. Yu Tianlong said, I'll fight in the first round of the individual elimination round. I hope that we can have a showdown. If I lose, I will join your Shrek Academy. If you lose, you will join my Heavenly Dragon sect. Do you dare to bet? Wang Qiu'er revealed a disdainful expression. Our Shrek Academy doesn't accept trash. What did you say? Not far away, everyone from the Heavenly Dragon sect stood up. His face was full of anger. Yu Tianlong raised his hand and suppressed the anger of his fellow disciples. He asked in a deep voice, Are you afraid? But before Wang Qiu'er could speak, a blue figure suddenly appeared in front of Yu Tianlong. The figure was extremely fast, and in an instant, a hand as cold as ice was placed on Yu Tianlong's shoulder. You dare to target my people? Do you think a mere blue lightning tyrant dragon is worthy? A cold voice rang out. However, it was this sentence that made Yu Tianlong feel like submitting to it. His entire body began to tremble. That figure was none other than Yuhao. Wang Qiu'er finally spoke. You're not strong enough. You're not even worthy of your bloodline. Yu Tianlong received a huge blow. If I lose, we'll withdraw from the competition. But if you lose, your Shrek Academy will withdraw from the competition. He finally roared. His eyes were burning with anger. Wang Qiu'er smiled. All right. Sure, but you have to be prepared. Yu Tianlong watched as Yu Tianlong left. Wang Qiu'er looked at Yuhao. Why did you interfere? I was going to teach him a lesson, but you beat me to it. I just can't stand the flies circling around you, Yuhao said. Wang Qiu'er was stunned by this sentence, and her face turned slightly red. Seeing the ambiguous relationship between the two, Dai Huabin, Ning Tian, and Wu Feng were envious. Then I can't stand the sight of so many giant dragons and beasts around you, Wang Qiu'er said. Yuhao was slightly embarrassed. He had no choice. Although those women had not woken up yet, once they did, he had to be on his guard. He was afraid that one day, he would accidentally be done by them. Be careful in the first round. No, he's just a suicidal blue lightning tyrant dragon. Just as Wang Qiu'er had said, Yu Tianlong was just a suicidal blue lightning tyrant dragon. On the stage, Wang Qiu'er lifted Yu Tianlong, who was in a sorry state and covered in blood. Her right hand was around his neck, and Yu Tianlong was looking at her in fear. You've lost. Remember, the Heavenly Dragon sect has to withdraw from the tournament. After she finished speaking, she threw him out of the stage. Yu Tianlong stood up, battered and exhausted. I will definitely become stronger. I will definitely surpass you and your boyfriend. Then I will snatch you from him. He said it, but he didn't expect Wang Qiu'er to stare at him again. But this time, it was a murderous look. Wang Qiu'er slowly walked up to him and broke his neck. But Yu Tianlong endured it and didn't cry out. You're not worthy. You'll never surpass me. You'll never surpass him. I'll be honest with you. He and I haven't even shown our true strength yet. We're only here to play in this Soul Master tournament. A mortal like you won't understand our true strength. Wang Qiu'er only used a voice that the two of them could hear. Then she turned and left. Yu Tianlong finally cried out in pain. Was he really unable to surpass him? He subconsciously looked at Yuhao, but Yuhao went back to Wang Qiu'er. He didn't even look back. Finally, he spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted. He was asking for it. Aren't you hurting him too much? He'll only give up if he's hurt. Sigh. I really don't know what to say about you. The Tang men were about to fight the Holy Ghost sect today. What kind of exciting battle would it be? The audience's emotions were already running high. As the discussions grew louder, the atmosphere started to heat up. The Tang men were relatively calm. They closed their eyes and rested as they entered the resting area. They wanted to be in their best condition. Soon, the people from the Holy Ghost sect arrived. There were a total of 9 people from the Holy Ghost sect. Walking in front was the scorpion tiger Doluo Zhangpeng. This super Doluo evil soul master had appeared once again. It was obvious how important this tournament was to the Holy Ghost sect. Behind Zhangpeng was Ma Xiaotiao, and behind Ma Xiaotiao was Tangya. Ma Xiaotiao subconsciously looked at Yuhao, and Yuhao looked back at her. The siblings had just met each other, and both of them were struggling in their hearts. Brother, sister, don't worry. When the tournament is over, let's meet privately. I'll tell you whatever you want to ask. Okay. On the main stage. Imperial Tutor, what do you think are the chances of the Holy Ghost sect winning against the Tang men? Su Tianran asked the mysterious Imperial Tutor beside him. The Imperial Tutor was silent for a moment. Finally, he said, No chance. No chance. Su Tianran and Zhu Zi looked at him in shock. The Imperial Tutor's eyes were fixed on Yuhao. No one knew what he was thinking. On the stage, individual elimination round. First round. Both teams, please take the stage. On the Holy Ghost sect side, a short youth quickly stood up. In a flash, he was on the stage. He was as light as a leaf. On the Tongmen's side, Bei stood up proudly. The tip of his foot touched the ground, and he also stepped onto the stage. Well, needless to say, Bei won 2 rounds and killed 2 people consecutively. However, he expended a lot of energy. However, things changed when Tangya stepped onto the stage in the 3rd round. The long spear pierced through Bei's right chest and protruded from his back. However, he also used the momentum to crash into Tangya. He opened his arms and hugged Tangya tightly in his arms. Boiling blood spurted out from his chest and sprayed in front of Tangya. The cold aura on her body seemed to have been attacked, and she felt as if it was melting. Tangya was stunned. When her 5th soul skill, blue-silver tyrant spear, pierced through Bei's chest, she felt as if her own chest had been pierced. An indescribable pain appeared in her chest. She didn't release the blue-silver tyrant spear's ability to devour life. Instead, she stood there in a daze. It was as if she had been immobilized. The perplexity in her eyes turned into an intense struggle. Tangya, it feels so good to hug you again. Bei didn't seem to feel the pain in his right chest at all. He hugged Tangya tightly, and there was a blissful look on his face. However, his face was completely drained of blood. Tangya, do you know? I really miss you, I really miss you. It was only after I lost contact with you that I realized how important you were to me. In my life, you have already become an indispensable part of it. That day I saw you again. My dormant soul was finally awakened. I've been waiting for this day for far too long. I don't know if you can still remember me. I don't know if you can recover. However, I'm already satisfied to be able to hug you again. Wake up, Tangya. Let me use my life to wake you up. I've already built the Tangmen for you. Wake up, alright? Golden light finally appeared on Bei's body again. However, this time, it was a faint golden fog. In the resting area, Doluo the scorpion tiger had already rushed to the entrance. He stared at the competition stage, and his expression changed unpredictably. Evidently, they didn't know about the relationship between Bei and Tangya. Bei slowly closed his eyes when he sensed Tangya's daze. He muttered, "Is it still not enough? But it's okay, Tangya. So be it. To be able to die in your hands and hug you to death is also a form of happiness for me. At least, it's better than enduring the torture of missing you every day." However, in the next moment, eldest senior brother, catch. It was Yuhao's voice. Bei subconsciously turned around. Yuhao threw 2 things out. They passed through the protective barrier, and Bei caught them. They were a pink pearl and something that looked like a seed. "Wake up, blue-silver emperor!" Yuhao even shouted. The seed trembled, and suddenly lit up with a blue light. After that, Yuhao shouted at Bei, "Eldest senior brother, let teacher Xiaoya eat them. Hurry up!" Bei looked at the 2 things in his hands. He seemed to know something. These should be things that could save Tanya. He hurriedly hugged Tanya and stuffed the two things into her mouth. Tanya was still in a daze. However, in the next moment, her body started to emit a strange blue undulation. Woo! Ah! My head! Ah! She suddenly hugged her head and screamed in pain. The blue undulation became more and more intense, and a pitch-black aura started to seep out of Tanya's body. However, it was destroyed by the blue undulation. In the next moment, an aura that was brimming with life energy erupted from Xiao Ya's body. Xiao Ya's skinny appearance started to return to her former healthy appearance. Even her black hair started to turn blue. Thick bluish-green vines started to grow around her, and there was even a tinge of dark gold in the blue. Her seventh soul ring had dissipated, but in the next moment, a new red soul ring appeared. That's right. It was a red soul ring. A red soul ring with two golden patterns. Everyone was stunned. Silence. Everyone was stunned as they looked at Tanya, who was hugging her head. They didn't know what was going on. Bei looked at the current Tanya. He could sense that the lifeless Tanya from before had disappeared. The current Tanya was filled with life. Her hair had turned blue. Everyone turned to look at her seventh soul ring, which was 2. That was 100,000-year soul ring. However, how did it come about? Only Yuhao knew about this. In order to save Tanya, Yuhao had found the blue-silver emperor of this era long ago. He made an agreement with it, and it became a seed. After that, Yuhao went to the ice-fire Yin-Yang well and asked Yu for its essence. After that, this was the result. Tanya had stopped screaming. Instead, she was very calm. She slowly opened her eyes. Why am I here? She was in a daze as she looked around. Tanya! Bei hugged her. Tanya was stunned. Bei? Why are you here? You're finally fine. That's great. Bei said weakly. His injuries worsened and he fainted. Bei! What happened to you? Don't scare me. Wake up. Tanya hurriedly shook the unconscious Bei. However, a black figure rushed over in the next moment. It was Ma Xiaotao. You are Senior Xiaotao. Before Tanya could finish speaking, she was stunned. She looked at her in shock. Ma Xiaotao slapped the back of her neck and knocked her out. After that, she said to Xingzhan, we admit defeat. Let's go straight to the team battle. After she finished speaking, she left with Tanya. The Tongmans team hurriedly went up to help Bei off the stage. They then looked at Yuhao. What did Yuhao feed Tanya just now? Yuhao looked at the confused faces of the crowd. He transmitted his voice to them. I'll explain later. Now everyone was confused. What was going on just now? On the rostrum. Advisor, what happened just now? Su Tianran looked at Zhongli Wu. However, Zhongli Wu didn't say anything. He just stared at Yuhao, who had a calm expression on his face. Just as Tanya was about to speak, she heard Ma Xiaotao's voice. This is Yuhao's plan. Tanya, you have to bear with it for a while. On the stage, when Unbreakable Doluo and Xingzhan sent out their team members for the team battle. On the Tongmans team, apart from the injured Bei, Yuhao, Tang Dong'er, Su Sanshi, Jiang Nannan, He Kaitu, and Xiao Xiao, there were 6 of them. On the Holy Ghost Religions team, there were 4 of them. The 4 of them had different figures. However, it was obvious that they were all males. Both parties, report your names. Xingzhan shouted. Tang Men, Yuhao. Tang Men, He Kaitu. Tang Men, Su Sanshi. Tang Men, Jiang Nannan. Tang Men, Xiao Xiao. Tang Men, He Kaitu. Tang Men, Su Sanshi. Tang Men, Jiang Nannan. Tang Men, Tang Dong'er. The 6 of them used the most concise method to report their names. They didn't even try to hide the murderous aura that they exuded. On the Holy Ghost Religions team, the tall and muscular guy at the front said, Holy Ghost Sect, Lu Gengeng. Holy Ghost Sect, Yen Feng. Holy Ghost Sect, Tang Dai. Holy Ghost Sect, Gu Yu. Jingzhan from Unbreakable Doloa took a deep breath and shouted, "Begin!" The first thing that both parties did was to release their martial souls. Of course, Yuhao wasn't the only one who hadn't released his martial soul. He just stared at them with his hands behind his back. Hikate's 6 soul rings suddenly shone. Following this, the binding light cannon on his chest opened. The others also released their martial souls. Dazzling soul rings quickly rose. On the other side, the 4 evil soul masters also released their martial souls. The first to make a move was Lu Gunging. He exerted strength in his legs and leaped forward. He didn't jump too high. He was only 2 meters above the ground. He only charged forward for 4 or 5 meters. However, his originally muscular body swelled up like a balloon after he jumped up. The moment he landed on the ground, the black robe on his body was completely torn apart. His entire being had turned into an extremely huge and terrifying monster. After releasing his martial soul, Lu Gunging was more than 5 meters tall. He was so fat that he looked like a meatball. His thick and strong legs looked very short and small. The moment he landed on the ground, even the Tongmin's team, who were 100 meters away, felt their legs tremble. The entire competition stage groaned in pain amidst the loud explosion. What kind of monster was this? The audience was stunned as they watched this scene. The enormous Lu Gunging was like a huge fatso. His entire body was emitting dark green soul power undulations. The strange thing was that his soul power undulations were like an irregular fog that rose around his body. His head was ball-shaped. A pair of blood-red eyes shone fiercely. The 6 soul rings on his body were especially huge because of his fat body. The scariest thing was that the fat man's exposed arms and shoulders seemed to be sewn together by pieces of fat, and his skin appeared to be in a patch-like state. He opened his bloody mouth and saliva flowed out. When the saliva landed on the steel plate on the ground, it actually started to smoke. Seeing his appearance, the Tongmin's team was stunned. What kind of martial soul was this? Abomination. It's an undead creature with both speed and attack. It eats corpses to strengthen itself. Once it's injured, it can devour corpses to recover. The dark green aura it's emitting is extremely poisonous. Yuhao said indifferently. This made Lu Gunging very surprised. He actually recognized my martial soul? Tang Dai strode forward beside Lu Gunging, who had released his abomination. He didn't have Lu Gunging's strength. However, the changes in his body weren't any smaller than Lu Gunging's. With every step he took, his body would become a little bigger. When he reached Lu Gunging's side, he was so huge that he was half a meter taller than Lu Gunging. However, he wasn't as fat as the abomination. Instead, he became a huge skeleton made up of dark golden bones. Skeleton King, a high-level undead creature. Its physical and energy defenses are extremely strong. It's good at physical attacks. Its weakness is that it doesn't know how to use long-range attack. Yuhao still said indifferently. Tang Dai was also shocked. An icy blue halo lit up under Yan Feng's feet. This halo was expanding outwards with the appearance of his soul rings. His body was also clearly becoming stronger. Large amounts of dragon scales started to drill out of his skin and burst open his black cloak. He was actually very handsome. As the icy blue dragon scales appeared on his body became taller. His gaze suddenly became sharp and his cold aura soared. Soul rings started to rise from beneath his feet. 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 3 black soul rings. 7-ringed soul sage. He was already the 2nd soul sage in the Holy Ghost religion. Yan Feng was a soul sage. Gu Yu, who was beside him, was a soul emperor like the 2 before him. His martial soul was a long bone staff. The bone staff was 3 meters long. There was a silver-gray skull at the top. The skull's eyes burned with dim purple flames. Gu Yu raised the bone staff in his hand. Yan Feng bent his body slightly and 2 huge wings opened behind his back. It was a pair of icy blue bone wings. Between the bone wings, everything was connected by a bluish-gray light. When the bone wings opened, they were 6 meters wide. He suddenly flapped them, and his body floated into the air. It hovered above Lu Gunging and Skeleton King Tang Dai. Bone Dragon. It's known as the ultimate weapon of undead creatures. It's also one of the strongest undead creatures. There's also a skeleton mage's bone staff. Yuhao continued to speak plainly. The 4 of them were already astonished. Why did it feel like they knew everything about them? Let's begin. Su Sancher suddenly shouted. He raised his shield of the Xuanwu turtle up high. An intense black light suddenly shone. Hikada's tall figure covered him, and his 4th soul ring suddenly lit up. Hikaitu, who was originally facing his enemies, also turned around to face Su Sancher. Xiao Zhao's 3 lives Soul Crush Cauldron was instantly released. They formed a triangle around Su Sancher. A black light flashed, and Su Sancher, who was in the formation, disappeared into thin air. Another person took over his position and appeared in the middle of the Tongmen's encirclement. It wasn't the huge skeleton King Tang Dai and the abomination Lu Gunging, nor was it the soul sage Yen Feng who had the Bone Dragon King martial spirit in the air. Instead, it was Gu Yu, who had the Bone Staff martial spirit and was using his support ability behind the 3 of them. Xiao Zhao's 3 lives Soul Crush Cauldron was unleashed at the same time. Gu Yu had just appeared, but the huge shockwave from the 3 lives Soul Crush Cauldron had already affected his body. Gu Yu was still dizzy and disoriented, but he was already trapped in a heavy encirclement. He was beaten senseless and disoriented by everyone's frenzied attacks. Gu Yu was indeed an evil soul master. After realizing that he was surrounded, he didn't hesitate to light up his 6th soul ring. The black light of his soul ring flickered, and a distorted undulation appeared on his body. Everyone realized that their attacks had actually passed through. However, in the next moment, a huge skeletal hand drilled out from the ground and directly grabbed Gu Yu, who was in his incorporeal state. He instantly turned pale with fright and subconsciously looked at Yuhao. At this moment, Yuhao's long hair had turned gray, and his pupils had turned gray. A dense aura of death had gathered around him. "Come and play with me, you little skeleton mage. Come and play with me, you little skeleton mage." A voice filled with death spread throughout the entire arena. The expressions of the audience, the people on the main stage, and the 4 evil soul masters changed. However, the people from the Tangmen weren't too surprised. Yuhao had already demonstrated it to them. Although it looked like an evil soul master on the surface, if they sensed it carefully, they would realize that the aura of death contained the aura of holiness and light. After Yuhao finished speaking, 7 soul rings appeared around him. However, what shocked everyone was that they were 7 gray soul rings that were filled with the aura of death. Is this a martial soul? Everyone was shocked. This was because Yuhao had already used 2 martial souls before this. What's going on with his 3rd martial soul? Even Zhongli Wu's eyes were wide open. This aura was actually causing his martial soul to tremble non-stop. This meant that his martial soul was either afraid of him, or it wanted to submit to him. He wasn't the only one who felt this way. The other 4 evil soul masters on the stage were already feeling afraid and wanted to submit to Yuhao. Right now, Yuhao was like their emperor in front of them. They had no choice but to submit to him. You're an evil soul master? Gu Yu, who was being restrained by the skeletal hand, looked at Yuhao in shock. "I didn't admit that I'm an evil soul master," Yuhao said plainly. He made a pinching motion with his right hand. Instantly, the skeletal hand exerted force. Cha! Blood splattered everywhere. Evil Soul Master Gu Yu was dead. Instant kill. Everyone sucked in a breath of air. An evil soul master who was a soul emperor was killed in an instant? Yuhao looked at the remaining 3 evil soul masters. However, the three of them were fighting Su Sanshur. Now that Gu Yu had been killed in an instant, they were even more terrified. Su Sanshur suddenly laughed. Bye-bye. After he finished speaking, his fourth soul ring lit up. In the next moment, Su Sanshur disappeared. Yuhao was standing in Su Sanchi's place. When Yuhao appeared, he made a slapping motion with his hand. With this slap, the three evil soul masters couldn't help but kneel on the ground. They didn't hide the fear in their eyes. It was as if he was their emperor. What was his martial soul? At this moment, they saw a look of disappointment in Yuhao's eyes. The three of you are so weak. You're not even qualified to play with me. His index finger made a sliding motion. Boom. The formless pressure directly pressed the three of them to the ground. They could even hear the cracking of their bones. The ground started to cave in. Just as the three of them were about to lose their breath, the pressure suddenly disappeared. Yuhao waved his hand and turned around without looking back. He even said casually, "How boring. Kill them." The three of them suddenly felt as if the ground was trembling. White skeletal hands and rotting hands, as well as huge claws, suddenly emerged from the ground. Woo woo woo. Ao ao ao. All sorts of ghostly cries and howls filled the entire arena. There was a bone-chilling wind. Many of the spectators were so frightened that they wet their pants. What did they see? It was a group of white skeletal soldiers, skeletal knights, skeletal kings, zombies, huge skeletons, huge zombies, and a 10-meter-long bone dragon. The moment they appeared, they bowed respectfully to Yuhao. When they looked at the three of them, the blue flames in their eyes flickered. The spectral creatures howled loudly and charged towards the three of them. The three of them wanted to retreat in fear, but they realized that they couldn't move at all. On the main stage, Zhongli Wu's eyes sparkled. He said excitedly, "This is the power to command the spectral creatures. This kid is indeed the Holy Ghost Sect's holy son. I admit defeat on behalf of the Holy Ghost Sect." The Scorpion Tiger Doluo and Zhang Peng hurriedly went up to the stage. They activated a protective barrier and surrounded the three of them. However, the spectral creatures didn't seem to hear them. They immediately attacked the protective barrier. The huge skeleton stabbed its skeletal hands into the ground and burrowed in from the ground. The protective barrier had a 360-degree defense, but it couldn't protect the ground at all. The skeletal hand instantly rushed out and grabbed the three of them, pulling them out of the protective shield. Then, the undead creatures attacked the three of them, tearing their bodies apart. The screams continued and everyone trembled. Even the Tangmen couldn't help but tremble. Although they had heard from Yuhao that these undead creatures were powerful, they didn't expect them to be so powerful. The Manticore Doluos stared blankly. He wanted to attack, but for some reason, he didn't dare to. It was as if he was afraid of these undead creatures. "There's nothing else to see. Let's go back," Yuhao said to everyone. The people from Tangmen nodded and left the stage one by one. "Wait a minute." A weak voice sounded. Yuhao turned his head and saw Yanfeng, who was in the Skeleton King's hands, looking at him in fear. Yanfeng's right hand and left leg had been torn off and eaten clean. Fresh blood flowed all over the ground. "Can you tell me what your martial soul is?" Yuhao was silent for a while. "My third martial soul, the Holy Necromancer. Although it has the aura of an evil soul master, it is a true power of light and holiness. It has the power to control and suppress undead creatures." Yanfeng finally understood and smiled. "Thank you." Following that, he died. Yuhao glanced at their corpses and waved his hand. Those undead creatures suddenly disappeared, and a ball of gray flames appeared in his hand. He walked over and said, "Purify, filthy spirits." After Yuhao finished speaking, he left the stage without turning back. In the next moment, 3 spirits appeared on the stage. A black aura drifted away from their bodies. The three of them were very grateful to Yuhao. Then, they floated into the sky and disappeared into the horizon. The power of purification? Zhongli Wu stared at Yuhao in shock. The power of purification was the nemesis of all dark, evil, and negative powers in the world. It was even stronger than light and holiness. This meant that Yuhao was the nemesis of all evil soul masters. However, he also had the power to control undead. This seemed to be an ability of an evil soul master. Zhongli Wu really didn't know how to deal with Yuhao now. He had the power of purification, which was a huge threat to the Holy Ghost religion. However, he also had the power of the Holy Sun, which was said to be able to control undead creatures. He really didn't know how to deal with Yuhao. Jingzhan also recovered at this moment. The Tang men is victorious. After this, everyone called him the Holy Necromancer, who became famous after this battle. Everyone knew that there was such a thing as having multiple martial souls. In the audience area, a faint smile appeared on the old man's face as he muttered to himself, "Elder Mu, you have great foresight. Yuhao, this child, has really grown up and gained multiple martial souls. I didn't think that there would really be such an existence." It was said that Tang Yu's ancestor also had multiple martial souls. The Holy Necromancer was exactly the same as what was recorded in Tang Yu's, Dolua's virtues. The nemesis of all evil soul masters, below the stage, Nan Qiuqiu was elated. "The Tang men are the best. Our Tang is the best. We've won, we've won. Haha, it would be even better if I could go up." She had completely forgotten that she had been tricked by Yuhao. Now she really thought of herself as a member of the Tang men. Jing Zian was depressed. How good would it be if I was born a few years later? Ji Juechen looked at Yuhao seriously and said, "Can you use that again? I want to fight you in that state." "Yuhao," he said, "you'll have a chance to try in the future. However, you'll have to be prepared to be crippled by me. That's because I'm still in a stronger state. It's useless. Are all of you very proud?" An old and deep voice that seemed to contain the fury of a volcano rang out. Everyone turned to look. Doluo Zhangpeng was looking at them with a dark expression. His eyes were filled with ferocity. "So what if I'm proud? So what if I'm not?" Yuhao said plainly. "At least we've won and you've lost." Yuhao continued to look at him. Zhangpeng clenched his fist. "The Holy Sun is right. However, we won't give up on you. You have to be careful. Let's go." Zhangpeng left after he finished speaking. Ma Xiaotao carried the unconscious Tang Ye and left. She even subconsciously glanced at Yuhao and nodded slightly. Yuhao also nodded. Above the 9 heavens, a snow-white figure was observing everyone. Her snow-white hair fluttered in the wind. Her eyes were like the universe as she searched for something until she saw the figure she was looking for. "I've found him, Father." "Yes, although he doesn't look like a Shota, his aura can't be wrong. It's really Father. Let's take a look first." Chapter 58. The First Class 12 Stationary Soul Cannon Shell in History, Doomsday. He had really blown up Radiant City. The sun and moon had lost their light and the might of Doomsday. The crazy eyes of the Shura Yuhao. Radiant City, how's the setup? Su Tianran leaned against the couch and squinted his eyes. His eyes shone brightly as he stared at a man in black who was kneeling not far from the couch. "Your Highness, everything has been set up. The east, south, and north are heavily guarded by our troop. There are Class 9 soul engineers holding the fort. There are more than 5 stationary soul cannon shells in each direction. They should already know about the situation after we deliberately leaked the information." Su Tianran laughed coldly and asked, "What about the west? How's the preparation going?" The man in black replied, "The west is also ready. The people from before are also there. We're giving them one last chance." Su Tianran nodded and said, You've done well. Set up everything. Be on high alert for the next 2 days. Be prepared at all times. You may leave. Yes, the black-clothed man replied respectfully. The man in black stood up and quickly disappeared into the darkness. Su Tianran seemed to be deep in thought. I hope they'll make the right choice. If they choose the West, our losses will be greatly reduced. Tangmen. That's what it is. That's Su Tianran's goal. A lady in her 20s sat on the couch opposite Yuhao. She was very beautiful. If Su Tianran was here, he would have been shocked. Wasn't she Juzi? Is that so? Haha, it seems like Su Tianran has really ignored my warning. Since he's so heartless, I'll be heartless too. It's his fault for not listening to my warning. Yuhao supported his face with his right hand and revealed a cruel smile on his face. It's time to try and create that dangerous thing. Yuhao, what are you trying to do? Juzi was a little puzzled. It's fine, don't worry. This is a good thing for you. You should hurry back. Otherwise, Su Tianran will suspect you, Yuhao said. Juzi was stunned. When she saw that cruel smile, she seemed to recall something. It was Yuhao's vicious words from a few days ago. Would he really blow up this place? But what did he use to blow up this place? But no matter what, he would be fine. She believed in his strength very much. Conference hall, what? It couldn't be, right? The Sun Moon Empire wants to hold all the contestants hostage? The Tang men were astonished. Yes, a very reliable person told me this, Yuhao said with a gloomy face. Yuhao, what do you plan to do? Beibei asked. A blood-red and ferocious look flashed across Yuhao's eyes. Since he's so heartless, I'll be even more heartless than him. Everyone trembled subconsciously. They also recalled Yuhao's warning to the Sun Moon Empire. I'll blow up the entire Radiant City. Yuhao, are you really going to do that? A tinge of fear flashed across Beibei's eyes. He didn't know why, but Yuhao made him feel fearful. Eldest senior brother, there are some things that those clowns will think you're easy to bully if you don't do them, Yuhao said plainly. After that, he took out a book and placed it on the table. Eldest senior brother, let's read this. I like this book. Beibei and the rest looked at the cover of the book, How to Make a Baddie. I feel like it's very beautiful. Beibei, let me have a look first. Su Sancher picked up the book and walked away. Give it to me. Let's read it together. In the Green Hotel. Tang Si and Tang Wu aren't here yet? Didn't you inform them of the time? The third elder stared at Chen unsternly. His gaze had already turned a little sinister. Chen An's forehead was covered in cold sweat. He hurriedly said, I did a long time ago. At the end of the last semi-final, I told them to come early today to make some final preparations. Humph, if they don't come, you'll pay for the Duskwater Alliance's losses. You'll pay with your life, the third elder said coldly. Teacher, don't be angry. I believe they'll be here soon. After all, the rewards this time are so generous. Number 96, Huang Zheng, smiled as he spoke. He was still as calm as ever. As for the person standing next to him, 98, who had already been eliminated, his expression was somewhat gloomy. Number 98, Merc, only had his darkness green dragon in his mind. Don't make things difficult for Chen and Number 3. I believe that kid will come. After the finals, I'll have to have a good talk with him. A deep voice rang out. The tall Duskwater Alliance master, Nangong Wan, had also arrived at the hotel lobby. The third elder hesitated for a moment before saying, according to the news from the leader, this Tang Wu might be that Yuhao. What should we do? The leader said that we should take him away at all costs. At this moment, a voice rang out from the door. Yuhao and He Kaitu, who had put on makeup, entered under the guidance of two men in black. Nangong Wan and the third elder looked much better when they saw the two of them. The Duskwater Alliance master, Nangong Wan, personally welcomed them and said, the two of you are finally here. It's good that you made it in time. The glory of the Duskwater Alliance depends on the two of you today. Yuhao said coldly, we'll do our best. Prepare the rewards first. Of course, of course. However, should I call you Tang Wu or Yuhao? Nangong Wan asked as he looked at Yuhao. Yuhao and He Kaitu seemed to have already known. You can call me whatever you want, don't worry. You're the holy son of my sect. I won't do anything to you. However, the same can't be said for the person beside you. Nangong Wan glanced at He Kaitu. Yuhao's expression turned cold. Do you believe that you won't be able to keep me here even if all of you attack me together? We've seen your strength with our own eyes. Of course we know that. Let's not talk about this anymore. You should think about it carefully. Please give us a reply after the competition. Nangong Wan left after he finished speaking. At the same time, he showed the champion's reward to all the competitors. It was a Class 9 stationary soul cannon shell. It was a strategic weapon. All the soul engineers were filled with desire. Except for Yuhao. He shook his head inside. This cannon shell is too far from what I'm about to create. Let's jump. The host, Lucci, smiled as he stood at one side. He led the 3 underground organizations' leaders to the center of the stage. Next, let's invite the 3 presidents to give their speeches. First, let's invite the Duskwater Alliance's leader, Nangong Wan, to give a speech. Although Nangong Wan had long since harbored killing intent towards him, he naturally wouldn't show it on the surface. He said indifferently, this competition was jointly organized by the 3 of us. So far, we've contributed quite a bit to the Empire's gambling industry. The Duskwater Alliance is determined to win today's final. I also believe that our competitors have the ability to do so. The champion will definitely be from the Duskwater Alliance. Those who haven't placed their bets yet, please give it some thought. The second person to speak was the Alto Chamber of Commerce's president, Litong. He glanced at Nangong Wan and said with a fake smile, it seems like Alliance leader Nangong is very confident. However, I don't think so. Those who are representing the Alto Chamber of Commerce are the cream of the crop among the younger generation of soul masters. I have absolute confidence in them. I'll make a statement here. I'll represent the Alto Chamber of Commerce and bet 100 million gold soul coins on them. As long as one of them can win this competition, the profits from this 100 million gold soul coins will belong to that person. Many people gasped when they heard this. 100 million gold soul coins. Even if the odds were 1-to-1, it was still 100 million gold soul coins. This was a number that could make people go crazy. At this moment, the beautiful alliance leader of the Common Alliance, Shangguan Wei laughed softly and walked forward. She said, the 2 of you are very confident. Then I can't fall behind either. The Common Alliance isn't as rich as the Alto Chamber of Commerce. We don't have 100 million gold soul coins. Even if we did, we wouldn't be willing to take it out. However, the Common Alliance has many beauties. If one of our soul masters becomes the champion, there will be 100,000 gold soul coins. He can choose from any of the beauties in the Common Alliance. At the same time, I'll take out 3 dragonesses with ancient bloodlines as slaves. They are all dragon ladies who still have their virginity. Dragonesses. After hearing these 2 words, He Kaitu was completely confused. Huang Zheng and Mok were also confused. However, Yuhao clenched his fists subconsciously. There was a tinge of killing intent in his eyes. Dragonesses were also known as Dragonians. They were a special creature that was half human and half beast. It was said that they were the children of dragons and humans. The women of the dragon people were all extremely beautiful, and the men were all extraordinarily handsome. However, their bodies were covered in scales. Only their faces were similar to humans. Only when they fell in love with someone would the scales on their body disappear. At this moment, Dragonians were a magical cauldron. Once they mated with a human of the opposite sex, They could absorb the essence of the dragon's blood. From there, they would completely change their physique. They would also have a tinge of dragon's blood aura in their blood. It would definitely be able to help his martial soul evolve once more. It would be a positive evolution. Dragonians could be considered half of the dragon race. Yuhao was the new Frost Dragon King. He was extremely furious that the humans were capturing Dragonians like this. Nangong Wan returned to the resting area with an ashen expression. He turned to Yuhao and said, "Holy Son, I hope that you can kill them as much as possible. If anything happens, we'll take responsibility." Lord Saint seems to be very interested in that so-called dragon lady. Wait until after this competition. Don't speak to me in such a commanding tone. Yuhao glanced at him, and Nangong Wan couldn't help but shudder. Don't speak to me in such a commanding tone. Yuhao glanced at him, and Nangong Wan couldn't help but shudder. Yuhao casually picked up a goblet and poured some wine into it. He took a sip and continued, "How many dragonesses are there in the Common Alliance? According to our investigations, there should be around 10. Crack! Nangong Wan was shocked. The goblet in Yuhao's hand was crushed. The wine flowed out. He suddenly felt that the temperature around him was plummeting. Yuhao took a deep breath and said, "All right. Go and do what you have to do. I'll help you clinch the championship. However, you have to save all of them." After Yuhao finished speaking, he left. Nangong Wan was confused. Why did he suddenly have a bad feeling about this? He jumped again. "Next, let's invite the 9 finalists of the Radiant City Elite Soul Engineering Tournament onto the stage. Our precise timing soul tools have already been prepared. In the first segment of the tournament, you'll have 6 hours to create a soul tool. The entire process will be under the supervision of the 7 judges. Anyone who tries to break the rules and break the fairness will be kicked out of the tournament. Please be careful." Lucci's expression turned serious. He stepped to one side and gestured for everyone to enter. The 3 finalists left the resting area. Almost all of them were accompanied up to the stage by the leaders of the 3 underground organizations. The president of the Alto Chamber of Commerce, Anlitong, was still smiling insincerely. He glanced at Yuhao and the others behind Nangong Wan and forced a smile. He said, "Alliance leader Nangong, I've heard that the Duskwater Alliance has a kid who's not even 16 years old. I didn't expect there to be one. He's competing at such a young age. How strong can he be? He might as well go back and drink milk." Nangong Wan couldn't help but glance at Yuhao. He thought that he would be angry, but Yuhao only glanced at him and didn't say anything. That's weird. Why isn't the Holy Sun angry? Ah. At this moment, Anlitong suddenly screamed. Everyone saw that his right hand had started to rot until his bones were exposed. You. Anlitong looked at Yuhao in fear. He was sure that Yuhao was behind this. "So what if you're 16 years old? I made you look like this. Doesn't that mean that you're worse than a 16-year-old kid like me?" Yuhao said calmly. Especially when he emphasized the word little doll. Nangong Wan was very happy to see Anlitong being humiliated. Anlitong still wanted to say something, but he was interrupted by a teasing voice. "This handsome little brother is really sharp with his words. I'm really curious. Are you really a 16-year-old kid? Nangong Wan is really burying your good looks. Why don't you come into my arms?" Shangguan Wei smiled sweetly as she walked onto the stage. She kept looking at Yuhao, her eyes filled with curiosity and a hint of seduction. "I'm really sorry. I'm not interested in an old hag." Yuhao laughed coldly. "Old hag?" Shangguan Wei was confused. "Oh, that's what an auntie means." Yuhao raised his head and smiled mockingly. Shangguan Wei was so angry that she couldn't say anything. "Ah. Nice to meet you, Auntie Shangguan." "Ah." Nangong Wan suddenly burst into laughter. Shangguan Wei was furious as she looked at Yuhao. Is this little rascal really only 16? Why is he so cunning? See you in the future then. Old hag. Yuhao didn't even bother with her as he left. Shangguan Wei's heart was filled with rage, and she was so angry that it almost attacked her heart. Humph. You little rascal, I'll teach you a lesson later. All of you will have 6 hours to create your soul tools. Everyone can only create one soul tool. Of course, you can create another one if you have the time. You can use any materials you want, including the materials that you brought with you. However, you can't use any half-finished products that have already been created. You'll be eliminated once you're discovered. At the same time, I have to remind all of you that you won't have any time to rest after 6 hours. You'll be tested on your skills directly. The last place will be eliminated, and your ranking will affect your matchup in the quarterfinals. Therefore, you have to conserve some energy when you create your soul tools. Otherwise, you won't be able to deal with the skills test later on. The difficulty of the skill test is very high. The countdown starts now. Time begins, soundproof barrier, rise. Following Yulin's shout, a layer of dim white light rose around the competition stage. The gentle white light quickly formed a dome in the air and enveloped the entire competition stage. The noise from the outside world was completely isolated. Yulin from the starry sky Dolua also returned to his seat. His eyes were burning as he watched the participating soul engineers begin to move. After this, his gaze was attracted to Yuhao. To be precise, it was his carving technique. Right now, Yuhao was using a small, jade-green carving knife. However, this small carving knife was constantly emitting undulations of life. Wherever the knife's blade cut through the rare metal, there would be traces of cracks, but there wasn't any residue at all. This was the life sword. Only its size had changed. The metal residue had already been devoured by the sword's spirit. However, what Yuhao was creating shocked Yulin. The way he was creating it seemed a little like a stationary soul cannon shell. Furthermore, its rank wasn't low either. Gradually, the outer shell was completed. A cannon shell about 3 meters long appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Everyone was stunned as they looked at Yuhao. A 3-meter-long stationary soul cannon shell? It was important to know that the bigger a stationary soul cannon shell was, the more destructive it was. A Class 9 cannon shell was about 1.5 meters long. However, the cannon shell that Yuhao was creating was 3 meters long. It was at least a Class 9 cannon shell. No, maybe. Yulin seemed to have thought of something. He looked at Yuhao in disbelief. 1.5 hours passed. In this extremely short period of time, Yuhao had finished carving the formation arrays. To be honest, creating something like this was really tiring. Looking at his sweaty face, it was obvious that he had found the resources to create this cannon shell in his inner world. Therefore, he didn't have to worry about the resources. However, creating such a dangerous cannon shell was really too tiring. It was even more tiring than carving the blueprint with Xian Ziwen a few months ago. No, the formation arrays were already created. How could he give up just like that? Another half an hour passed. It's done. Yuhao took a deep breath. After 2 hours, this dangerous cannon shell was finally created by Yuhao. It was a huge 3-meter-long object. It was a cannonball. Other than the conical head, it was almost a cylinder. Its entire body was red, and there were scarlet patterns on the head. It was very different from the shell that was made before. After all, it was just a shell, and it didn't have that kind of aura. However, now, this big guy actually had a kind of intimidating aura all over its body. That kind of aura seemed to be able to destroy the world, causing everyone to stay away from it. Even Yuhao was a little regretful now. Was it really the right decision to create this cannon shell? This cannon shell consumed an enormous amount of resources. However, the current resources on the continent of Dolua were only enough to create 5 of these cannon shells. Moreover, if this cannon shell exploded, even with his current strength, he would be killed by the explosion. Furthermore, he was certain that even the weakest of the divine realm's hunters and heavenly officials would perish under the might of this thing. Even if they were lucky enough to survive, they wouldn't be far from death. Furthermore, he didn't even know the power and range of this cannon shell's explosion. He really regretted creating this cannon shell. He had a feeling that this cannon shell would bring an unexpected disaster to Shrek's Tangmen and even the entire continent at some point in the future. However, since he had already created it, he couldn't dismantle it anymore. At worst, he could just go back and seal the blueprint of this cannon shell. He looked at his watch. It seemed like only 2 hours had passed. If it was possible, he should be able to create a basic mecha, right? Yuhao took a deep breath. He took out a green pill and put it in his mouth. It melted as soon as it entered his mouth. A majestic life force washed away the fatigue from before. Oh my! Since that was the case, then, in the next moment, a pile of rare metals appeared around him. However, no one present could recognize any of these metals. Yulin was shocked. Is this kid going to create another soul tool? If that was the case, then all the hard work he had put in over the past few decades would be nothing in front of him. Even I can't create 2 soul tools in 3 hours. Even the other judges stood up in shock. Following this, the components were created one by one. The arms, legs, body parts, the head, and the circular hole in the chest. Following this, Yuhao assembled them one by one. Everyone, including the contestants, stopped what they were doing and looked over in shock. Oh my God! What is that? It looked like a 5-meter-tall metal man. Its entire body was blue and white, with black and white stripes on both sides of its body. There were 2 eyes on its head that shone like green crystals. There was a V-shaped symbol on its forehead. A blue gemstone was embedded in the bend of the V-shaped symbol. There was a pair of folded white wings on its back. There were 2 cannons on its right arm, and there was a longsword in its left hand. On its chest, there was a huge emerald-like object embedded in its chest. It was actually a piece of life gold. Yuhao used the life gold as its energy core, and installed an energy circulation device around the life gold. This way it could be activated. Perhaps it would even have self-awareness. Furthermore, it was the kind that would never tire. Yuhao had installed a body-adjusting device in its body. Its smallest body could be as big as a fly, while its largest body could be chosen according to its opponent's size. It could be operated manually or intelligently. After completing this, Yuhao nodded in satisfaction. It's done. He felt that this was the product he was most satisfied with so far. Let's give you a name. I'll call you first-generation mecha, Horain. For some reason, even Little Z wanted to laugh. Ha! I can't, I really want to laugh. Ha 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 ha. Alright. Yes. He's the first person on the continent of Dolua to name his own mecha with a homophonic sound. Yulin stood up in shock. A human-shaped soul tool? How is that possible? How did he manage to create a human-shaped soul tool? This is something that the Sun-Moon Empire couldn't create even after thousands of years. He managed to create it in less than an hour. How could he not be shocked? 3 hours passed very quickly. Time's up. All competitors, stop creating your soul tools. Yulin announced that time was up. His gaze was still fixed on Yuhao's mecha and the 3-meter cannon shell. Yuhao could finally rest. He lay on his chair, closed his eyes, and exhaled deeply. No one noticed that a streak of red and black light flew out from his body. Yuhao opened his eyes again, and the corner of his mouth curled upwards. I'll leave the rest to you guys. Night fell. The weather was a little gloomy today. When night fell, the light became especially weak, and a blood-red full moon hung in the sky. Only the soul lamps on the walls of the Sun-Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy could bring some light to the academy's surroundings. A few figures stood quietly at a gate not far from the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy. With the cover of the night, they seemed to have completely blended into the darkness. "Why isn't he here yet?" A very pleasant female voice muttered anxiously. "Don't be anxious. Yuhao should be here soon." A cold voice sounded. It was short, but it left a deep impression on those who heard it. At this moment, the clouds in the sky seemed to have been blown away by the night wind, and a ray of moonlight just happened to pass through this dark corner, revealing 6 figures inside. There were a total of 5 people waiting there. Sword Maniac Ji Juechen, Jing Zian, Xiao Xiao, Tang Dong and Wang Qiu. On the other side. The money is in this card. Check it. Su Sanchi's entire body was covered in a large black cloak, and so was Jiang Nan, who was standing beside him. There was a sneaky middle-aged man standing in front of them. He looked around from time to time. At this moment, he quickly took the card from Su Sanchi's hand. He took out a small soul tool from his pocket and inserted the card into the soul tool. Very soon, a number with many zeros appeared on the crystal screen. The sneaky middle-aged man's expression relaxed a little. "Where's the goods?" Su Sancher asked. The middle-aged man passed a bracelet and 2 rings to Su Sancher. Su Sancher passed them to Jiang Nan. Jiang Nan used her spiritual power to check. Very soon, she nodded at Su Sancher. The 2 of them looked at each other and saw the joy in each other's eyes. The deal was considered a done deal. "The goods, right?" the middle-aged man asked anxiously. Su Sancher nodded. The expression on the middle-aged man's face finally relaxed. Similarly, he pulled up the cloak behind his back and waved at the 2 of them. With quick steps, he quickly disappeared into the night. Su Sancher smiled and said, Nan, let's go. Yuhao and the others should be starting soon." "Okay," Jiang Nan replied softly. The 2 of them disappeared into the night, Sun Moon Empire's Imperial Palace. The Imperial Palace was brightly lit at night. The Crown Prince, Su Tianran, was reading in his study. Zhu Zi was by his side. Su Tianran said, "Zhu Zi, push me to the window." "Yes." Zhu Zi hurriedly pushed Su Tianran's wheelchair to the window. She also helped him open the window. The night wind blew, bringing with it a chill. Su Tianran looked at the sky and smiled. "If you want to watch the tournament, you should leave now." Zhu Zi shook her head and said, "I'm not going anywhere. I want to accompany His Highness." As she spoke, she placed her hands on Su Tianran's shoulders and gently massaged them. Su Tianran revealed a rare warm smile on his face. He patted Zhu Zi's hands and said, "I can only relax when I'm alone with you. This feeling is wonderful. It's a pity that I'm not going to be able to enjoy this in peace tonight. If you're not going to watch the tournament, remember not to leave my side later. They should be here soon." Zhu Zi was shocked. "Who's coming? It's so late." Su Tianran laughed coldly. "Some people won't give up on a foolish decision just because it's late." At this moment, an old voice sounded in the air. "Since you're already here, there's no need to hide. All of you, come out." A large number of guards rushed out in an instant, surrounding Su Tianran's study so tightly that not even a drop of water could leak out. A ball of white light suddenly lit up in the sky, illuminating the pitch-black night sky. A figure floated proudly in the air above Su Tianran's study. His black robe fluttered gently in the night wind. He stood in the air, as if he had been standing there since ancient times. Since when did the Dragon Emperor Doloa become someone's lackey? People's morals have changed. A weird voice sounded. It was as if the sky had suddenly split open, and a mass of dense, dark green clouds appeared. The green clouds parted, and a figure walked out from within. Yes, the figure floating above Su Tianran's study was the Dragon Emperor Doloa Xiaoyao. The figure who walked out of the green cloud was the body sect leader, Du Busi, who was close to Ultimate Doloa's rank 98. Only someone at his level would dare to face Xiaoyao, who was at ultimate Dolua's level. Long Xiaoyao snorted coldly as he looked at the green-haired Du Busi. Your elder brother was severely injured by Mu and back then. If you want to stay here today and cut off the bloodline of the original body, I will fulfill your wish. Du Busi squinted his eyes and said coldly, Long Xiaoyao, don't try to take advantage of your seniority. If I'm not wrong, you're from the Heavenly Soul Empire. Not only have you been reduced to joining an evil sect, but you've also become a traitor to the Sun-Moon Empire. I look down on you. Xiaoyao's expression changed when he heard the words Heavenly Soul Empire. He lowered his voice and said, Has the body sect really submitted to the Heavenly Soul Empire? Du Busi said disdainfully, What do you mean submitted? We're working together. Our sect is now the Heavenly Soul Empire's national sect. Xiaoyao, if you still think you're from the Heavenly Soul Empire, you'd better leave. Long Xiaoyao shook his head and said plainly, I'll spare your life today on the account that you've helped the Heavenly Soul Empire. There's no point in talking nonsense. You should know the rules of a titled Dolua. We'll talk in the heavens when we're involved in worldly affairs. Little Xian, come out too. I'll meet all of you together today. Xiaoyao's body shook as he spoke, and his body instantly grew taller. Figures appeared behind him one after another. This included the Scorpion Tiger Dolua Zhang Peng, and more than 10 other figures. The person following closely behind Xiaoyao was the Sun-Moon Empire's mysterious imperial tutor. There was an unwritten rule in the world of soul masters. If a titled Dolua was involved in worldly affairs, it was to prevent people from dying. The heavens were their battlefields. Only the victorious party had the right to fight anyone below the level of a titled Dolu. As long as there was still a titled Dolua who hadn't been defeated, these titled Dolua couldn't participate in worldly affairs. This rule was left behind by Poseidon Tang San and his younger brother Tang Yu after they ascended to the god realm 10,000 years ago. Even though there was no such law in any of the empires, all titled Dolua had to abide by it. A streak of yellow light lit up half the sky. Elder Xian, the Taotai Dolua, appeared in the sky. He seemed to be resonating with Dolua Du Busi. Xiaoyao, the dragon. The three parties rose into the sky at the same time. Behind Elder Xian and Du Busi, there were more than 20 powerful individuals who rose into the sky with them. Even someone as powerful as Xiaoyao couldn't help but change his expression. In terms of the number of titled Dolu, he only had half the number of titled Dolu. Furthermore, Xiaoyao was very clear that with the body sect and the Shrek Academy's foundations, almost half of these titled Dolua were super Dolu. Otherwise, they wouldn't have dared to come even though they knew he was in the palace. Little Xian, we don't have to be polite with the Black Dragon. In terms of seniority, he's slightly higher than us. Let's fight together. Du Busi laughed. Just as he rose into the sky, he flashed and pounced towards Xiaoyao. Elder Xian furrowed his brows. However, he only hesitated for a moment before he flew out with Du Busi. Jump a little. On a dark street beside the Sun-Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy. Ayaya, there's a fight going on up there. It's a pity that I can't join in. I feel terrible. A blood-red figure said with a coquettish voice. All right, sissy. Hurry up. We're here to carry out the mission given by the body sect. We're not here to fight, a black figure said. The lights gradually revealed their appearances. Unexpectedly, they looked exactly the same. Both of them were extremely beautiful. However, there was a man's handsomeness beneath the woman's beauty. The blood-red figure was wearing a blood-red windbreaker. There was a canine tooth at the corner of his mouth. His blood-red eyes were like the blood-red full moon in the sky. His blood-red hair fluttered without any wind. The black figure had long black hair and a black windbreaker. His left eye was a golden watch. The only difference was that the hour hand didn't turn. His right eye was a white whirlpool that was spinning. Besides the color of his hair, eyes, and clothes, they were almost identical. Huh? Are you using a commanding tone to talk to me? The blood-red figure started to pick a fight with the black figure. Who are you calling a trap? You damn sissy! Isn't it just because you woke up earlier than me that you're so awesome? Oh my! You're throwing a tantrum? If you're not happy, let's fight. Come on. Come on. Who's afraid of you? Just as the two of them were about to fight, Wang Qiu'er shouted, "Stop!" She ran out and punched the two of them. My wife! Don't hit me so hard! The two of them cried out. Shut up! Wang Qiu'er shouted angrily. Yes. The two of them stopped fighting. Sister Qiu'er, who are they? Why do they look so much like Yuhao? Tang Dong'er was puzzled. Everyone else was too. Only Ji Juechen looked at the two of them. He couldn't hide his fighting spirit. We'll talk about that later. Let me introduce myself first. I'm Yuhao of Annihilation, and this is Yuhao of Spacetime. We're the martial souls of my main body. That's all for now. Let's carry out the mission that my main body gave us. I'll explain everything to you in the future. The blood-red Hoi Yuhao suddenly became very serious. He looked at Yuhao of Spacetime again. Let's begin. Spacetime Yuhao nodded. Yuhao of Spacetime's right eye flashed. The space around them started to distort, and everyone disappeared. In the next moment, in the underground car park of Radiant City, everyone appeared there in the blink of an eye. Everyone except Wang Qiu'er and the two Yuhao of Spacetime were astonished. What kind of power was this? Spatial teleportation? Alright, everyone. Let's hurry up and steal. Annihilation Yuhao of Annihilation took out a storage ring. He looked at the rare metals and high-level soul tools around him. After he finished speaking, he took out something else. It was a Class 9 times soul bomb. Wow, this Tang Wu is a genius. Another elder sitting beside Yiyulin couldn't help but exclaim. He's not just a genius. He's a prodigy. No, I think he's a prodigy. All kinds of comments started to sound. A soul cannon shell that's Class 9 and above, and a human-shaped soul tool. What kind of person taught such a prodigy? Yiyulin exclaimed. Ha ha ha. I didn't expect the Holy Sun to be such a powerful soul engineer. The vice leader laughed. Nangong Wan stood respectfully at the side. Next, it was time for the judges and soul engineers to admire his work of art. Little friend, can you tell me what class this stationary soul cannon shell is? What's its name? There are only 2 words in its name, Apocalypse. As for its class, I think it's the first Class 12 stationary soul cannon shell in history. The silence was frightening. Class 12? What a joke. The Sun Moon Empire doesn't even have a Class 10 soul tool now. However, this child has already created a Class 12 stationary soul cannon shell. This is really this human-shaped soul tool. Compared to a human-shaped soul tool, I prefer to call it a mecha. You can call it the first-generation mecha, Hworain. Mecha? First-generation mecha, Hworain? Why does this name sound so similar to the name of the Shura's eyes, Hoi Yuhao, who threatened to blow up Radiant City during the Soul Master Tournament? Perhaps all the smart people already had their guesses. They looked at the Class 12 stationary soul cannon shell again. That can't be right. Is he really going to blow up Radiant City? Hoi Yuhao was fighting against Lan Ruoro, who was called Lan Ruoro. Yiyulin said, "Both parties introduce yourselves." Tang Wu. Hoi Yuhao's cold voice sounded. "My name is Lan Ruoro. Big brother, you won't blow me up with that stationary soul cannon shell of yours, will you?" Lan Ruoro's body was trembling slightly, and her face was a little pale. She seemed to be extremely afraid. Heh. You've overestimated yourself. You're not worthy of me using such a dangerous thing. I'm going to blow up Radiant City with this thing. Hoi Yuhao thought to himself. However, Hoi Yuhao didn't seem to care about her. He looked at the motionless Hworain behind him, and there was no light in his eyes. Even the life core in his chest didn't move at all. Yuhao was stunned as he looked at it. Damn. I don't even know how to wake it up. Hey, big brother? You say something, ah. Lan Ruoro shouted. Her voice was very seductive. Yuhao looked at her impatiently. Seducing me? She's really looking for the wrong person. I don't even know how many beauties there are around me, and all of them are a few thousand times prettier than her. How can I be interested in her? She's really seducing the wrong person. Furthermore, I'm only 16 years old, and I'm not interested in an auntie who's 10 years older than me. Lan Ruoro almost fell down, and her eyes flashed with anger. Begin. Yiyulin rose into the air again. This time, his gaze was fixed on Yuhao. He wanted to know how this young man would operate this mecha. If this mecha couldn't even move, it was just a decoration. As he said begin, the girl in the blue dress immediately moved. Her toes tapped lightly on the ground, and she was like a little blue bird. She floated towards Yuhao. Her movements were very light, and she looked like she was dancing. It was only when she moved that one could see that her dress was very special. Her skirt fluttered in the wind, revealing her fair skin. The sleeves on her shoulders didn't cover her arms at all. When she raised her arms, the sleeves rippled, and her arms, which were like tender lotuses, swayed along with it. Lan Ruoro's soul tool was a short sword. It was important to note that the smaller a close combat soul tool was, the harder it was to create it. This was especially true for high-tier close combat soul tools. Her short sword was pitch black, and there weren't any soul power undulations. It was tightly attached to her wrist, and couldn't be seen as she danced. Yuhao completely ignored her. He stared straight at Horain, and he wanted to figure out how to awaken it. He had tried to inject soul power into Horain, but it didn't work. Horain was like a statue, and it couldn't move. Lan Ruoro had already moved behind Yuhao, and her short sword was about to stab him. Yuhao suddenly extended his right hand behind him and grabbed the short sword. A small wound suddenly appeared on his right hand. Yuhao subconsciously grabbed his hand. He didn't even use his true abilities, but a drop of rainbow-colored blood magically dripped out of the wound. Rainbow-colored blood? Those with sharp eyes were astonished. His blood isn't red? Is he not human? At this moment, the life core in front of Horain's chest finally moved. It started to tremble slowly, and a huge suction force directly absorbed the rainbow-colored blood. Furthermore, it wasn't over yet. The suction force was still there. Yuhao looked at his wound, and the corner of his mouth curled up. So that's how it is. You should have said so earlier. He directly cut a wound on his hand, and that drop of rainbow-colored blood flowed out. The life core trembled even more intensely, and that dim eye finally lit up with green light. The green eye stared at Yuhao in front of it. Identity confirmed. Yuhao, my maker, my master. There was no emotion in the digital voice. Yuhao was astonished. What's going on? It's actually speaking? It can even speak English. Those light novels weren't for nothing. Yuhao thought to himself. Interesting, interesting. The soul engineers were already astonished. A human-shaped soul tool actually spoke? Master, please instruct me. As long as Master is happy, I'm willing to do anything. The voice was no longer as choppy as before. Furthermore, Yuhao was already stunned. This was because he could tell that this voice belonged to a woman. What's going on? Why does a mecha have a gender? Yuhao wiped the sweat off his head. He felt that something big was about to happen. Yuhao looked at Horain before looking at Lan Ruoro. Defeat her. Horain looked at Lan Ruoro. Yes, Master. Horain moved. However, it wasn't as clumsy as everyone thought. It was very fast. It was so fast that even Super Dolua couldn't see it clearly. In the blink of an eye, Horain's huge right hand grabbed Lan Ruoro's head and slammed her into the ground without mercy. Boom. Lan Ruoro couldn't get up anymore. Mission complete. Master, please instruct me. Hwoarang arrived in front of him in the blink of an eye and spoke very respectfully. Yuhao smiled. It's been hard on you. As long as Master is happy. Hwoarang suddenly looked at Yuhao's right hand. The wound hadn't healed yet and blood was still flowing. However, the blood didn't fall to the ground. Instead, it turned into gas and disappeared when it was about to hit the ground. Hwoarang suddenly grabbed Yuhao's right hand and placed it on his life core. Master's blood can't be wasted. The blood was also absorbed. To Yuhao, he would be fine after losing so much blood. He suddenly realized that as Hwoarang absorbed his blood, it also passed a very pure life energy to him. This caused his wound to heal instantly. You're really amazing. Hwoarang. Hwoarang? Is that my name? Yes. Yuhao was about to say it, but Hwoarang stopped him. No. This name can't be. I can't have the same name as Master. Even if it's a homophone, it can't be. Hwoarang's voice was still emotionless. Yuhao was stunned. Then what should I call you? Then what should I call you? Yuhao looked at Hwoarang. Yuhao looked at Hwoarang carefully. Ling. Luosi. Little Z suddenly thought of this name when he was dreaming last night. What do you think? Ling Luosi. Ling Luosi. Ling Luosi. It's very nice. Thank you, Master, for giving me this name. Hwoarang, oh no, it was Ling Luosi. They skipped to the battle between Huang Zheng and Yi Gai. Yuhao missed the past as he looked at the beautiful yet familiar figure standing opposite Huang Zheng on the stage. She was once his family and close friend. No matter if it was his eldest senior brother, second senior brother, third senior brother, fourth senior sister, or fifth senior sister, or old Ji and Jing Zian, or Qiuqiu and Gai, or Ju Zi and Luoli. He quickly adjusted his state of mind. He almost cried just now. Yuhao sighed. Speaking of which, he had never heard Yi Gai talk about her family. Yi Gai said that she didn't have any relatives, but Yuhao was sure that her parents had angel martial souls. They must be from a big family, and everyone in this family must have an angel martial soul. However, he had never heard of this family. More importantly, why did they abandon Yi Gai? The holy angel was a peak-level martial soul that was many times stronger than an angel. Those with the holy angel martial soul had innate soul power at rank 20. They had no reason to abandon Yi Gai. Yuhao fell into deep thought on the stage. The purple light from Huang Zheng's third soul ring seemed very gentle, but a sinister aura started to spread. His eyes turned blood-red, and a low murmur came from his mouth. With his body as the center, an area of 30 meters in diameter was covered in a faint layer of purplish-black light. Darkness descended. Huang Zheng's martial soul wasn't the strongest among evil soul masters. It was called an evil servant, and was a strange human-shaped martial soul. According to the Holy Ghost religion, this martial soul came from avenging spirits formed after humans died. When avenging spirits were tainted by the evil energy of heaven and earth, they would become a special existence. They could resonate with the evil energy of heaven and earth to harm living creatures. Once an evil servant entered a pregnant woman's womb, the martial soul would be imprinted on the fetus body. However, the pregnant woman would die when she gave birth, and her blood would become nutrients for the evil servant, which would take shape in the fetus body. However, the evil servant martial soul wasn't considered strong among evil soul masters. It was even considered weak. Even in Yuhao's world of undead, it was the weakest existence. Yi Gai suddenly felt her surroundings darken, and she couldn't see Huang Zheng clearly anymore. She seemed a little flustered, and she subconsciously took a few steps back. Her sword danced in front of her, and even though she managed to block Huang Zheng's attacks, she was still pushed back. She was at a disadvantage. Huang Zheng revealed a cold smile on his face, and his fifth soul ring lit up. He was very calm. Once he gained the upper hand, he wouldn't give his opponent a chance to turn the tables. His black 10,000-year soul ring caused the sinister aura around him to rise. Layers of purplish-black fog started to rise from the ground. The viscous fog started to engulf Yi Gai's body. Yi Gai's illusory figure started to slow down. Furthermore, a strong hidden aura started to enter her body. A yellow light projection appeared behind her back, and was being torn apart by the purplish-black light. Spirit stripping, the light on the huge claw became very intense, and a 3-foot-long blade light was unleashed. It slashed towards Yi Gai. "You want to take my life? Then you can die under my soul-chasing claw. Without your physical body, your spirit can only be stripped away by me. The soul of a soul emperor is still very delicious. It'll definitely allow my cultivation to rise to another level." A complicated expression appeared on Huang Zheng's face. To ensure that he could kill Yi Gai in one strike, he even covered his claws with a layer of purplish black. This was his second soul skill, Touch of Darkness. It was a type of dark elemental poison. Yi Gai was about to perish. Everyone could see the outcome. The Duskwater Alliance was destined to win this match, and they were going to clinch the championship. There were only 2 exceptions. One of them was the leader of the Common Alliance, Shangguan Wei. A disdainful sneer appeared on her delicate face. Don't they know who's behind the Duskwater Alliance? Are they not prepared to face an evil soul master? Yuhao looked at Huang Zheng with disdain. He understood Yi Gai very well. Huang Zheng actually wanted to devour her spirit? It was simply laughable to the extreme. Can't he see who he is? Just as the huge claw was about to descend, suddenly, the tip of the sword in her hand pointed upwards, and she turned it around. Suddenly, the 7 golden stars on the sword suddenly lit up, and an intense golden light with a layer of holy white halo suddenly spread out. The purplish-black spirit behind her, which was eroding her spirit, seemed to let out a shrill roar. Instantly it disappeared. The surrounding darkness also melted like snow in spring. Ding! The long sword touched the palm of the sharp claw, blocking the sharp claw that had already reached the top of his head. Her spirit returned to its original position. A cold smile appeared on Yi Gai's face. Huang Zheng's evil servant shuddered when the soul-stripping claw was broken. The evil servant was directly related to his spirit. Although he wasn't hurt, he was still stunned. Following this, the holy, golden white light struck his body. Huang Zheng only felt his body warm up. Large amounts of purplish-black gas rose from his body. His entire body shook, and he screamed in pain as he retreated. Is this holy light that contains a holy aura? This time, even the vice-leader of the Holy Ghost Church in the resting area couldn't sit still. Holy light was the nemesis of evil soul masters. Don't tell me that Yi Gai's martial soul is weird? Does it possess the rare holy element? Yi Gai's figure flashed forward, and she slashed out with the longsword in her hand. At the same time, her 5th soul ring, which was the best combination of soul rings, lit up. Her spirit was sublimated, and her frightening strength was instantly raised to its maximum. A streak of holy intent flowed from Yi Gai's face. At this moment, all her previous disguises were gone. Yes, her element was the rare holy element. She wasn't from the Common Alliance. She was here to use the Common Alliance's strength to deal with evil soul masters from the Duskwater Alliance. Evil soul masters were most adept at killing living beings to increase their own cultivation. However, Yi Gai was a holy-type soul master, and she was most adept at killing evil soul masters to increase her own cultivation. Yi Gai's pure and holy appearance caused Yuhao to be slightly moved. Her spirit seemed to have reached an extremely intense level at this moment. The golden white light from her body illuminated the entire competition stage. Even the darkness in the sky seemed to be torn apart. This was the holy element. It was the rare holy element. The vice-leader of the Holy Ghost religion, and Nangong Wan, stood up and stared at Yi Gai in fear. If she was allowed to continue growing, she would definitely become a great enemy of the Holy Ghost religion. Yi Gai's right hand had turned completely golden white. A layer of intense sword light covered the seven-star sword in her hand. At the same time, 2 white wings appeared behind her back. She pointed her sword forward. A huge sword light instantly engulfed Huang Zheng's body. 5th soul skill, angelic holy sword. Angel. Her martial soul is an angel. No wonder it's the holy element. The vice leader and the rest were fearful. However, their expressions turned vicious in the next moment. Yuhao looked at them. Why are you so agitated? How can a mere holy angel scare all of you? To think that you've lived for so long. Yuhao's words woke everyone up. They knew that they had lost their composure. You're right, holy son. However, why did you say that she's a holy angel? Isn't she an angel? Nangong Wan was puzzled. Angel? It would be great if she was really an angel. However, it's a pity that she's a holy angel. She's a 6-winged angel. Yuhao said. What? This time, even the vice-sect leader was restless. She had to be killed now. Why are you so agitated? Do you think that Huang Zheng can kill her? Don't worry. In my eyes, she's already an angel who's about to die. Yuhao's lips curled into a smile. We've troubled you, holy son, Nangongwan said. They also wanted to see what their holy son was capable of. Yuhao looked at Yi Gai. You're still as rash as before. You've exposed yourself too early. The Common Alliance can't protect you at all. It seems like I'll have to protect you. A huge golden white sword flashed past. Yi Gai stood proudly on the competition stage. Huang Zheng and his soul tool were nowhere to be found. Yi Gai's pretty face was filled with positive energy, which was covered with a layer of holy light. At this time, it could also be seen that she was the only one among the 3 women who didn't expose any part of her skin. She pointed her sword at the Duskwater Alliance with a look of arrogance and disdain on her face. The tip of her sword trembled slightly as she pointed it at Yuhao. She's still provoking me? If it were anyone else, they would have charged out to fight her. However, it was a pity that Yuhao wasn't in that category. Master, do you need me to do anything? Ling Luo suddenly spoke from behind Yuhao. Yuhao glanced at her. Ling Luo, can you? Lip? Yes, I can do it, Ling Luo answered after pondering for a moment. Yuhao laughed. Very good. Follow me. Yuhao appeared on the stage in a flash. Ling Luo followed closely behind. Yi Gai snorted coldly. Evil people like you will die under my sword. After killing Huang Zheng, her cultivation had increased tremendously. She had also recovered the soul power that she had expended earlier. She was very confident. Yuhao laughed softly and said, You're such a rash person. You don't even know that you're about to die. Yi Gai furrowed her brow and stared at Yuhao for a long time. What do you mean? She also used her spiritual power to communicate with him. It's what I mean on the surface. How can you reveal your holy element in front of an evil soul master before you've even grown up? If you're not courting death, what are you? Do you really think the Common Alliance and the royal family can protect you? Yuhao asked. Yi Gai was stunned. Why does it feel like this person is always thinking about my safety? No. He should be an evil soul master too. I can't fall for his trick. You have to understand that your holy element is a huge threat to evil soul masters. They'll definitely try to get rid of you before you've even grown up. How about this? When I defeat you, I'll send you to a place that's absolutely safe. I'll do my best to protect you. Yi Gai raised her brow and thought to herself disdainfully, You want to defeat me? Even if you're an evil soul master, it's impossible. I think you should get that robot behind you to come out and fight with me. Yi Gai, when you're fighting, it's a big taboo for little Qiao. Yuhao smirked. Following this, he suddenly shouted, Ling Luo, battle armor mode. After he finished speaking, Ling Luo, who was behind Hui Yuhao, started to shine with blue light. In the next moment, she turned into a set of blue armor. There was a helmet, a breastplate, left shoulder and left upper gauntlet, right shoulder and right upper gauntlet, left lower gauntlet, right 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 lower gauntlet, and a pair of combat boots. After they were all assembled on Hui Yuhao's body, bluish gold mecha wings suddenly appeared on Hui Yuhao's back. There were also 6 blue floating cannons around him. It was very domineering and beautiful. Hui Yuhao's aura was rising rapidly. Titled Dolu, Super Dolu, Ultimate Dolu. Everyone was so shocked that they couldn't close their mouth. The judges and spectators were already scared out of their wit. Yi Gai was astonished. She suddenly wanted to admit defeat. Nonsense. Hui Yuhao's abilities are a few hundred times stronger than mine. How am I supposed to fight like this? Let's stop here, Ling Luo, Hui Yuhao said. His aura finally stopped at Ultimate Dolua. Of course, he was sure that Ling Luo's amplification ability was very large. It could be said that if she continued like this, she could reach the god rank. Even Hui Yuhao was shocked. As Ling Luo's creator, he didn't know that she was this strong. She was practically a man-made god. It would be more appropriate to call her the mecha god. Do you still want to continue? Hui Yuhao crossed his arms. The 6 floating cannons were aimed at Yi Gai, ready to fire at any moment. Because the helmet covered most of his face, only the part below Hui Yuhao's mouth could be seen. Therefore, Yi Gai couldn't see Hui Yuhao's expression, but she knew that he was mocking her. She gritted her teeth. If you have the guts, why don't you use this thing to fight me? Ha, you were the one who wanted me to use this. Why are you regretting it? Hui Yuhao asked. How am I supposed to fight you if you wear this? If you have the guts, why don't you use it? Yi Gai said with a look of injustice. Hui Yuhao sighed inwardly. He wanted to test the strength of Ling Luo's battle armor, but it seemed like he had to put it aside for now. There was another flash, and the beautiful armor disappeared. It turned into a blue light and drilled into the center of Hui Yuhao's brow. So she can be stored like this. I was still thinking about how to store her, but now she's living in my inner world. This isn't bad. Inner world. Ling Luo looked at the curious brother Skydream, the Ice Empress, the Snow Empress, and the Star Anise. Hello, I am Ling Luo. Nice to meet you. You're the mecha created by Yuhao? You're pretty cool. It's quite similar to the Gundam and Transformers that First Dai mentioned before. Outside, Hui Yuhao stretched his body. Cracking sounds could be heard. Just as he finished stretching, his aura changed. 7 gray rings appeared beneath his feet. His eyes turned gray and his blue hair turned gray. Gray soul rings? Yi Gai was shocked. She had never seen soul rings like this before. They were abnormal and filled with an aura of death and evil. Only evil soul masters could have them. Furthermore, there were 7 of them at once. Could he be an evil soul master at the level of a soul sage? Liar. You really are an evil soul master. How dare you lie to me and say that you want to protect me? Yi Gai said angrily. Hui Yuhao's voice echoed in her mind. If I didn't do this, I wouldn't have been able to gain the trust of the Holy Ghost religion. Remember our agreement. If I defeat you, you have to listen to me. It was obvious that Yi Gai's trust in Hui Yuhao had plummeted because of his necromancer aura. The sword in her hand trembled, and holy wings opened behind her back. Following this, a new pair of wings appeared. She was a 4-winged angel. It was obvious that Yi Gai was a soul emperor who was very close to becoming a soul sage. Although her new pair of wings was a little illusory, her aura allowed her to temporarily reach the level of a soul sage. Her feathers released a gentle golden-white fog. The intense light caused her entire body to become transparent. She pointed her sword forward, and countless sword lights shot towards Hui Yuhao, who was filled with an aura of death. When they saw this scene, the evil soul masters below the stage became even more dismal. Such pure holy power made them feel uncomfortable, even though they were below the stage. However, in the next moment, Huiyuhao's first gray soul ring suddenly lit up. Instantly, the original gray was replaced by a bright gold. Dense elements of light surged out. At this moment, both Yi Gai and the evil soul masters below the stage were stunned. Just a moment ago, he was still filled with evil energy. How did he suddenly become filled with such a dense aura of light? How did he do this? Just as everyone was astonished, Huiyuhao's right hand formed a sword and placed it in front of his chest. He muttered an incantation, and a ball of pale white flames started to ripple in the air. Very soon, it turned into a figure that appeared in front of Huiyuhao. A white barrier of light appeared and blocked the sword lights that were imbued with holy light. When they saw this figure, the vice leader, Nangong Wan, and the other evil soul masters were astonished. It was clearly Huang Zheng, who had just died in battle. However, Huang Zheng's expression was very stiff right now. Only the light around him was illusory. It was clear that he was in spirit form. However, Huiyuhao was able to block Yi Gai's sword lights through his spirit form. Controlling spirits had always been an evil soul master's specialty. However, why was his aura filled with the aura of light? Even the vice sect leader was at a loss at this moment. Yi Gai was the most affected. She realized that her first soul skill, holy light illumination, had lost its effect on Huiyuhao after his first gray soul ring turned golden. Her holy light, which was supposed to have an immediate effect on evil soul masters, had lost its effect. Even though Huang Zheng's spirit was slowly being destroyed by her sword lights, he was still able to block her sword lights that were filled with holy power. Huiyuhao's sword fingers suddenly flicked upwards. Suddenly, white bone claws started to emerge from the ground. These bone claws were covered with golden light, and they grabbed towards Yi Gai, who was about to charge forward. Yi Gai's Big Dipper sword swept across and destroyed these bone claws. She flapped her wings and immediately rose into the sky. "It's useless to hide in the sky," Huiyuhao said plainly. Following this, pitch-black cracks appeared in the sky. Pitch-black bats with golden halos flew out from the crack. These bats instantly surrounded Yi Gai. Yi Gai spent a lot of effort to get rid of them one by one. To her surprise, she realized that these bats were immune to her holy power. This was why she took so long to get rid of them. The bats' corpses instantly turned into black gas and disappeared into the crack. Yi Gai took in a deep breath in the air. Her second soul ring lit up, and the projection of a six-winged angel flashed behind her. Her sword lights instantly expanded. The bright blade of her sword was very eye-catching in the dark night. No one dared to look at it directly. A huge sword light that was 10 feet long and 10 feet wide descended from the sky. It slashed towards Huiyuhao's head. Second soul skill, Holy Spirit Slash. Huiyuhao didn't even try to dodge. He drew a black circle in the sky with his sword finger. However, this black circle started to expand. Following this, a huge, white skull emerged from it. More accurately speaking, it wasn't a skull. It was a huge skull. If anyone had seen the battle between the Tangmen and the Holy Ghost sect during the Continental Elite Youth Soul Master Tournament, they would easily recognize that this was the skull of a bone dragon. Furthermore, this bone dragon skull was much bigger than the bone dragon that Yan Feng had transformed into. It was at least 5 times bigger than Yan Feng's martial soul true body. An adult bone dragon. The evil soul masters immediately recognized this huge fellow's origins. This adult bone dragon's eye sockets flickered with bright golden spirit fire. It was strangely filled with the aura of light. The golden light from its eye sockets flowed down its cheekbones like liquid. Its huge skull looked up and let out a soundless roar. Clang! A crisp sound of explosion rang out, and the Holy Spirit Slash viciously chopped down on that huge head. However, the holy light dissipated. The bone dragon's terrifying skull didn't change at all. Its spirit fire flickered. It opened its huge mouth and spat out a ball of dim golden dragon flames towards Yigai. After spitting out this ball of dragon flames, the bone dragon's huge skull retracted back into the crack. Yigai didn't expect the holy spirit slash to fail. When the huge dragon flames appeared, the powerful aura that surged towards her caused the holy light around her to tremble. It was as if she was facing a huge wave. Faced with such a situation, she wasn't afraid at all. Her fifth soul ring lit up once again. Her holy sword, which was as bright as the sun, descended upon the world once again. It slashed towards the dragon flames. The sharpness of the holy sword was indeed extraordinary. The dragon flames were forcefully sliced apart and swept past her body. However, Yigai didn't gain any advantage from this attack. She staggered back a few steps, and her pretty face became a little pale. So strong. Yigai muttered. Good. Very good. You are indeed the holy son of our sect. A specter that isn't afraid of the holy light. Even the heavens are helping our sect. The vice-sect leader stood up and said agitatedly. Yuhao's incantation wasn't finished. After he finished, a pitch-black door appeared behind Yuhao. The opening of the spectral door is your doomsday. This is the spectral calamity, Yuhao said. The black door slowly opened, revealing a patch of darkness. Yuhao slowly walked backwards and fused with the darkness. Following this, a series of sorrowful howls could be heard. Skeleton soldiers swarmed out from within and pounced towards Yigai. Without exception, these skeleton soldiers shone with a layer of dim golden light. As specters, their greatest trait was that they weren't afraid of death. Yigai swept the sword in her hand. Every time she slashed out, a skeleton would fall to the ground. However, her expression became more and more unsightly. The holy angel martial soul was the nemesis of evil creatures. It was also the nemesis of evil soul masters. As long as she killed evil creatures and purified them, her cultivation would be boosted. His cultivation would receive the pure purifying power from it, restoring his soul power and increasing his cultivation. This was also her greatest trump card. However, the undead creatures in front of him seemed to really possess the light attribute. They weren't afraid of her holy element at all. The holy light that she was so proud of had no effect on these specters. Even after she killed them, she didn't receive any feedback. Her element wouldn't lie to her. These specters were really light-type specters. The wave of skeletons was only the first wave of the spectral door's attack. After the wave of skeletons, many liches started to appear. Even stronger skeletal cavalrymen gradually appeared on the stage. Their individual strength wasn't too strong, but their advantage lay in their large numbers and endless supply. They charged towards Yigai dauntlessly on the stage. Yigai raised her Big Dipper sword, and her fourth soul ring shone. She raised her wings before flapping them down. Immediately, layers upon layers of divine light gushed out from her like a fountain. Many specters were destroyed and sent flying. Holy light spiritual formation. If the specters that were attacking her were ordinary specters, her holy light spiritual formation would have been able to wipe them out. However, these light-type specters were too difficult for her to deal with. Not only did she not receive any feedback, but only the skeleton soldiers at the front perished. The rest of the skeleton soldiers continued to charge forward. They had no intention of retreating. Yigai unleashed her ultimate moves, but her soul power couldn't be replenished. Her expression became more and more unsightly. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.